Welcome to the San Jose Hockey Now podcast. All right, so we're going to get right into it. We're going to get into a whole road trip here. The Sharks are just on the road. We're going to talk about Ryan Warsofsky's comments in Edmonton, Nick Leddy over Shakir Mukhamadullin, Igor Chernyshhov's concussion. All that happened on the road trip. And we are going to do our post-trade deadline top 10 Sharks prospects. This is going to be a way different list than in the past because there's been so much attrition over the season. So I think this is actually the most fun one we've done in a long time because I don't think that Keegan and I are going to agree a lot. Before we get to that, though, just want to say that first, congratulations to Zubair. Zubair's not here with us. Maybe he might join us in a little bit, but Zubair and his wife just had their first child. So congratulations to Zubair. Yeah. He is very, very busy. Dan Boyle is golfing. And Dan
almost
will be back with us soon too. Almost as important.
Yeah. Zubair had the best trade deadline acquisition. He acquired a baby, which is our running group chat joke that baby is the best acquisition he could have got at the trade deadline. But before all that, we're going to have a quick word from our sponsor, Bring Hockey Back. As you all know, Bring Hockey Back has been sponsoring the podcast for over a year and a half now. They do great work with custom jerseys, custom tees, specifically hockey focused. They have a great understanding of what makes hockey culture, Sharks culture special. They have some limited time USA merch. Yep. I don't know if it's limited time, actually. Might be out there for a while, but go check it out. If you do go to bringhockeyback.com, make sure you use the promo code San Jose Hockey Now for 15% off your purchase, and then let them know that you found them through us, because that helps us. And we like them, they like us. We want to keep doing this. So bringhockeyback.net.
Yep, keep up code San Jose Hockey Now. I think that will let them know that is.
Yeah, that probably would do it. That probably would do it. Anyway, yeah, it's been a big post-trade deadline, 10 days, week, however long it's been since we recorded. A lot has happened, feels like. It's been
a lot has happened,
zooming.
Right? Like, we had the highs of the Boston-Montreal win, and Keegan, I'm sure, was crossing the Rubicon there, but I think Keegan might have taken one foot into the water. What do you think, now? Before we start with everything we're going to talk about, Keegan, are the Sharks going to make the playoffs?
No. Still no. I never crossed it. I was really close. After the Montreal game, I was
You're put in the water, you're testing it.
I was like, damn, this is fun. The problem is Montreal doesn't play like a lot of teams that they're going to play. And Montreal is a fun team, plays a little fast and loose defensively sometimes. And I think that's kind of what the Sharks ate into when they played them. And I was like, oh, they're playing right to do it. Sharks are... Yeah, Macklin's doing Macklin things. This looks great. So much fun. A lot of energy. But I was like, there's still some desperate teams that are upcoming. And it's just tightening up. We were all like, Winnipeg, LA, they seem like they're out of it. It doesn't seem like they're out of it. Sharks are not out of it either. So I'm still haven't crossed it. I think they're going to just miss. But I'm enjoying the ride. It's been fun to watch every night. I get angry when they don't win. And I get like, God! Like I haven't done it in a very long time. So it's been fun.
Well, a lot of people are getting angry after they don't win and after certain coaching decisions. I guess
100%.
I guess what I'm seeing that I haven't seen in years, which is a good thing actually, is that people actually care about like coaching decisions and wins and losses. Which is, honestly it's a foreign feeling. Because that's been a long time. It takes,
like especially being in the playoffs and us worried about what fourth liner is playing and what fourth liner got scratched and what.
And people get so mad about that back then. Why is Michael Helly in the lineup? How can they scratch Tim Heed? All that stuff brings me back to those days, and I was like, this overall it is a good thing. But Ryan Warsofsky yesterday drew a lot of. Okay, let's start with his comment. We'll go backwards in time a little bit here. So, yesterday, Ryan Warsofsky, I asked him, and this is also what I will say this too. It's a little bit of a non sequitur, I guess, but I think it's related though. That not to say I've forgotten, but in the last 6-7 years, like there was no point in grilling Kyle Burrows over some mistake in game 28 of the season when the Sharks are already 10 points out of playoffs at that point and going to be way far out of the playoffs. No point in grilling Jack Stanika in game 77 when he couldn't handle Connor McDavid in the corner or something like that because the Sharks were 46 points at that point, that late in the season.
Yeah.
So these games matter now. And so I always said, I don't know if anyone believed me, but because I've done it before, when I covered the Vegas Golden Knights that first year, when I covered the Sharks that playoff year 2019, if the result matters, it changes my reporting. And so I've had to kind of get back into that, like, wow, these games actually really do matter. And so I need to ask Alex Nedeljkovic about a goal that he gave up. I need to ask Ryan Warsofsky about certain decisions that he made. So anyway, I just want to preface that like that's something that is interesting for me to kind of get back into. And if the Sharks make it to the playoffs, then yeah, that's going to be interesting because the questioning, like I said, every play matters in the playoffs. And it could be some small play that Macklin Celebrini made or mistake he made that leads to a goal and they lose the game. And guess what? We're going to have to talk with Macklin and he's going to be upset. And he's just 19, we know that, but he's also the alternate captain and he is the franchise. You gotta talk with him, whether he's mad or not, right? So anyway, Ryan Warsofsky did a couple of things yesterday that people did not cotton to in Edmonton. Number one, he moved Michael Misa off of center. And I asked, and he did something that I've never seen before. I don't know if you've ever seen before, Keegan, but after he moved Misa off of center, he started alternating Misa, Graft, and Smith with Macklin Celebrini, basically. And so basically, Macklin had a carousel of wingers at first line. One of them, and it was actually just only Graff or Smith. It was probably mostly Smith. Smith was probably the one, I think, being demoted. I guess if we were to pick one guy out. He would go to the fourth line with Gaudreau and Osopchak sometimes. Or if Macklin was double shifting himself, it would be Macklin, Gaudreau, and Smith. So it was really hard to pick up on exactly what the lines were.
Strange.
But
yeah,
very strange, right? I've never seen anything like that. But anyway, he said, "I'm just trying to get someone to play with Mac there." I asked, why did you move me off of center? And I asked him about the carousel of wingers there that we've never seen before. The second thing he said that drew the ire of a lot of people was I asked him about the 6-on-5, and Will Smith and Tyler Toffoli were not on it. And Keither Sherwood and Pavel Regenda, probably Regenda is the one that stands out there. They were on that 6-on-5 at the end of the game. And Warsofsky said, a lot of things that those guys are doing that he wants other players to be doing, just kind of the basic stuff, block some shots, get on the forecheck. But he also added too, and this quote did stand out to me, but I'm surprised by how upset people were by it, though, I'll be honest. I mean, maybe Keegan, you can fill me in on it a little bit. But anyway, Warsofsky said, for 4 years, we've worked on development and getting guys better, kind of handing some things to some players. You got to earn your ice from here on out. So anyway, your thoughts first, Keegan, on all this, yesterday's interesting loss in Edmonton.
This is all the post fallout. I think we're gonna have to talk about the pre fallout too with Mukhamadullin, the pre-game stuff too.
I mean, we can tie that in too. Do you want to tie that in? Does it make sense? Yeah.
Let's do the post game stuff first, because I do think that quote is interesting.
Okay.
For 4 years, we worked on development and getting guys better. Yes. But I don't really agree with the second statement, kind of handing some things to some players. I think specifically 2 players, maybe Misa, but probably not. I would say Dickinson and Smith at certain points were handed ice time because of specific things. Smith because he came out of college and they knew that they wanted to start him in the NHL and give him a shot. And that it still didn't. They didn't like hand him first line minutes and then keep him there. They still moved him up and down. He went to the third line. He scratched certain nights, that kind of thing. So it wasn't like he was handed ice time specifically, other than he was handed a roster spot more than anything. Dickinson, similar thing. I think they knew that they couldn't send it back, so they did hand them those two things. But I don't think you could say that you handed, and if you're going back 4 years, I don't think you could say you handed William Eklund anything. William Eklund won a job. He played at the Barracuda. He dominated the AHL. He played up into the NHL consistently, even though there's been times when Eklund's not been great or amazing. He's been a consistent top 6 forward for San Jose for better part of 3 years now. So I don't agree that we handed things to everybody. You handed stuff to Smith and Dickinson, but even then, you wasn't like they were given the world. And then Misa's just earned his ice time. I feel like after the World Juniors, I feel like it's not like he's played really well. So I wouldn't say that they handed him anything. They scratched him a bunch too and put him down and put him to the World Juniors, stuff like that. And I guess I don't know. It felt like it was kind of like a call out to the younger guys when I feel like the younger guys are the only reason this team is any good in the first place. Yes, we have vets that are better than most years, but that second part is what I don't really agree with. Yes, they have worked for 4 years. They've developed guys. They've done super well on that, but I don't think the right read should have been we've been handing stuff to people, because honestly, I don't think they have. I think the players have kind of earned it, and they've yo-yoed up and down the lineup. So that part got me a little bit heated, but that was why I think people were upset, because it felt like he wasn't giving credit to the players that are kind of, taking this team where they are going. And yes, a lot of it's Mac, but still, there are secondary pieces that are helping for sure.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the phrasing, I guess, is one of those things where, if you look hard at the phrasing, and I love your cup there. Yeah,
Oh yes, I haven't shown off my cup yet. This is my my Rainforest Cafe. Anytime I have a tropical drink, and I'm drinking a tropical drink, I bring out the pair mug.
In Rhode Island, that's the closest you can get to the Caribbean, huh?
Got that in San Antonio.
It's a beautiful mug in San Jose today, which is kind of crazy. Yeah. But anyway, though, I think. I think if you're looking at just the strict definition of handing things to people, maybe that hasn't happened that much. I mean, obviously we talk about Will Smith, right? And I want to get to a little bit with Will and his ice time getting cut and maybe being the target of Warsofsky's ire in particular. But the first couple months of last season, Will wasn't very good in NHL, and we've talked about that, right? And maybe Daniil Gushin, right, is a guy that probably should have got more of a look, and maybe it wouldn't matter because Daniil, sorry, Keegan, isn't that good. but though, in terms of
he's got 16 goals in the AHL this year. He's doing fine.
And the pure meritocracy training camp, though, right? No one would tell you that Will Smith outplayed Daniil Gushin in training camp last year.
No. Or the first couple of months of the season. He was not very good. Yeah.
Yeah, and so there's something to it, and not just with Will. I mean, with Sam Dickinson and Michael Misa, if they weren't in their situations, if they could have been sent to the AHL, would Sam have been better served in AHL if he could have gone there the first couple months at least? You can still argue that, I think, right?
I do want to talk about Dickinson at some point.
Okay.
Because I have an interesting
we'll get to that, but I think, though, that anytime you're in a situation where the roster is not very deep and there's just a lot of opportunity, to put it nicely, there is a way to look at it as you're just kind of giving jobs, right? Because a lot of, basically, in the last, since Warsofsky has been here, I don't think is wrong. On a deeper team, William Eklund would not crack the power play for a couple of years there, right? And the word handed is not great, right? But on a Colorado Avalanche team, William Eklund would would not sniff the power play for a couple of years there, right? And so if you look at like giving somebody or handing somebody like a younger player like a job, and it's because the team is not very deep, it's not exactly handing, but I don't know. I think he just did it. I just didn't think he phrased it really well. I don't know. He just lost the game. He was not in a right mood here. I don't know. I just don't see it as very serious, I guess. I don't think he's calling out in the sense of like, William Eklund, you got stuff handed to you, or Will Smith, you got stuff handed to you. I think the main point that I took from all of it was that, look, expectations are higher now. For 4 years, the team has sucked, and we've gotten to play. I'm not with the Sharks, but like speaking for him, like the Sharks, we get to play end of season hockey here. Where a guy like Shakir Mukhamadullin last year, we talked about, right? End of the season, he got to benefit from end of season hockey and get to play 20 plus minutes a night. Did he get handed those minutes? You can kind of argue, like I said, that's what I mean. The phrasing is kind of weird. Like, there wasn't a lot of competition, and he was the only relevant young Sharks defenseman at that moment, right? Because Dickinson wasn't here yet. So they're like, here are these minutes, do your best. And he did pretty well in those minutes, right? So, anyway, I think that the phrasing of it, I don't know. I don't look too hard at it. I think the message is just simply that the Sharks are in a playoff race now, and so there are higher standards now, and there's going to be higher standards from here on out. Maybe not so much this season, even though I know that's what he says, but in the coming years, though, like in the coming years, you look at how other teams work when they get good. Guys get benched. Guys get benched for whatever, just a couple of bad games or whatever, and it's going to happen to your favorites. It may not happen to Macklin, but like, could it happen to anybody besides Macklin? It may not even be Warsofsky being your coach. It could be whoever you put in there, right? And they're soft in a corner in game 4 of the first round. Just one play, and that catches the eye of Warsofsky or whoever the other coach is, and they're like, you can't do that in the playoffs, man. Whoever it is. I'm not pointing out, any particular Sharks player, but the point is that, like, and I do remember back in the playoffs, like when this stuff mattered, then guys would get sat for kind of like, if you didn't have the coach's trust in its entirety, and if you want to look back 7 years ago, and it would be a guy like a Kevin LeBanc, right? The younger guys on the Sharks, Kevin LeBanc. Or it could be a Timo Meier, who was really good 7 years ago, but still was younger, right? And they would fiddle with this ice time a little bit. And it's because of stuff that they would, maybe just one bad play or one bad game or one bad period. And Peter DeBoer would be like, we can't have this. This matters too much now. And that's how I kind of took what Warsofsky said, I guess. So I didn't get into the micro of, did William Eklund get handed minutes? Did Shakir Mukhamadullin get handed minutes? Did Thomas Bordeleau get handed minutes? And in some cases, yes, more so than other cases, right? If you look back at every Sharks prospect down the line. And I feel like when I look at the online discourse, even what you're saying, that there's so much focus on, this guy wasn't handed minutes, this guy wasn't handed minutes. And I don't really think that was Warsofsky's point. I think the point is just that we're in a different time in expectations for these players now. And I think even Warsofsky is sort of learning that too in some ways too.
Yeah, this goes back to what I said on another podcast about him having his cake and eating it too, though, because like he says, you gotta earn your ice time, etc. And there are veterans that struggle, and they struggle for weeks and months at a time. Like, they play and they don't play well, and they still get ice time. And the defense is, well, he likes him on the fourth line, or, well, he likes that player, or, well, they have utility on this specific scenario, so he keeps them. And I feel like that's the kind of thing that makes people angry. It's not that, like, specifically, like, pointing out, like you said, like, that William Eklund was handed this or whatever. It's more just that he holds specific standards for specific players and then pretends that he doesn't. Like,
I think that's a leap to say to pretend he doesn't. We don't know.
I guess it's not.
Go ahead though. Yeah.
I guess it's not always like that. I think sometimes he sometimes he's very consistent, and then sometimes I feel like he does signal out specific players, and that's the way that coaches work. They do that, but it's because he has to justify it to people who ask him questions about it. He then uses a generalizing statement instead of a personalizing statement, and the generalizing statement ends up being like, well, why is, John Klingberg getting time when he fumbles the puck and turns it over 3 times? And then they get put in the back of the net, or he's a, -2. Or why is Goodrow getting ice time when he can't, create a scoring opportunity and he hasn't put up a point in 2.5 months, that's the thing that I think people get upset about. And I can see why. It is frustrating, especially because the future of the team is going to be the young guys. So one of these times, it might shake somebody the wrong way. It might shake a prospect or a player loose. Maybe you don't want him here anyway, but it might come back to bite you. Like, say Mukhamadullin doesn't come back in the summer. They ship him off. We'll talk about Mukhamadullin in a second. But, that's the kind of thing that there's still talent there, and you're holding them to a different standard in the guys that you're going to win, but you're just not what you want. You're going to win this game anyway. So, I don't know. It's frustrating for some fans, especially when it's like, well, we're going to put in Nick Leddy, who's been bad and also didn't get, hasn't played in 2 months, and nobody picked him up on waivers. And, that's just a little
we'll get that one, yeah. but I don't
but
know.
Regarding this, I do think that Smith wasn't playing particularly well and hasn't played well in a couple of games. I have no problem with being like, yeah, I think that, and he could even say that, I don't think Smitty's had the best couple of games. We wanted to give other guys opportunities. And, that's all it is. But he kind of makes it seem more of, a generalizing statement about the youth that is, carrying the team in general, rather than, this is what I think I'm seeing as a coach. And that's where it feels like it feels a little punitive when it doesn't need to be.
Let me ask you, though, that's
this is my opinion.
I think it's hard.
Of him,
it's hard for a coach to be. It's hard for him, I think, to be less emotional after a loss, because he's an emotional, fiery kind of guy. You can tell.
We're all heated right now.
And he's living it, right? And I understand for the fans too that it's they get attached to these players and whatnot, right? And you're fans of the team, which I'm not. But in terms of actual usage, though, I think that it shows in his usage of these young players that there is a lot of leniency and rope and development. I mean, just look at the ice time. I'm not talking about just Will Smith's game specifically against Edmonton. And I think actually Will was pretty good in Boston and Montreal, but maybe not so good in Ottawa and Edmonton. But Will Smith is at 18 plus minutes a night. Sam Dickinson's time has gone up and up. Colin Graff and Zach Ostapchuk are guys I always use as examples of guys who took jobs, and they play with a consistency that Warsofsky wants from his players, and they have no issues with ice time. So if you look at the actual usage, even Michael Misa, a lot of people have complained about his usage. I don't know if you want to talk about it or not, but I find that an odd kind of thing too, because you guys are asking the wrong thing. You're comparing Michael Misa to. Okay, I'll do a quick aside about this really, really fast because I'm writing about it. Michael Misa is not going to have as much ice time in a game as a Alex Wennberg. He may even be behind a Zach Ostapchuk, but it's not because of any kind of favoritism. It's because Michael doesn't play special teams really. That's really the difference. If you look at the and I'm glad you see this the same way, because to me it's obvious. If you look at the 5-on-5 even strength, Michael Misa is what he's supposed to. He's the third line center of the Sharks. He plays more 5-on-5 than Zach Ostapchuk. But Zach will play more because Zach has become a regular penalty killer. And Alex Wennberg will swallow the both of them up because Alex is PP1 and he's also PK1 too. And Macklin's not even in discussion. We're not even comparing these. Macklin's if you look at even strength time, Macklin's going to get 18 minutes a night. Yeah, and then Wenberg and Misa and Osofsky will be pretty close to each other. And yeah, I know there was the one game that Wenberg did not play. Yeah, he was injured in. And Chernyshov came in. Chernyshov played 2 more minutes at 5-on-5 than Michael Misa. Could you have given Misa another shift or two? Okay, yeah, you can have that argument, right? But Misa was ahead of Osofsky in that game, again, the Ottawa game, and so I find that very strange. But anyway, so I want to get back to the point though. In terms of actual usage of his younger players, it's if you look at the actual usage and not him like being pissed off after a loss, like it's not. No one is being sort of, I don't know, punished. I guess, you know what I mean? Like, they're giving a lot of rope, like, chances are, I could be wrong, but they play Buffalo Sabres tomorrow, and he's bitching about Will Smith here and there, right? Next game, guess who Will's playing with? He's playing with Macklin, And so, so that's one thing I wanted to address. I think the second thing that you mentioned about the veterans and whatnot, right? I think we had to go on a case-by-case basis, right? But, like, with a John Klingberg, right, like, there's no better option out there. That's why I tried to write yesterday in my article, try to tell you guys that, like, I think the Sharks organization would love for Luca Cagnoni to take John Klingberg's job. I mean, if we're being, like, if you looked into the hearts of my career and etc., they would love Shakir Mukhamadullin to vanquish the idea of Nick Leddy, playing for the Sharks again, or at least over Mukhamadullin. Like, these jobs are wide open, especially on the defense. They're wide open. And it's because I don't know this for a fact, but it's because the front office doesn't believe these guys are definitively better than John Klingberg and Nick Leddy and down the line. And Timothy Liljegren, I mentioned when he was here. And this ultimately is, I don't blame the prospects because they're young, they're getting better, especially a guy like Luka, like he's only 21, but like ultimately it's on these guys to take jobs. And again, I go back to him because it's proof in the pudding. Colin Graf, Zach Ostapchuk, they took jobs. And on a much deeper forward core too. They were so good that Ryan Warsofsky, Mike Greer, the whole brain trust was like, these guys are too good. Like, yeah, we signed Jeff Skinner to a contract, and it'd be great to flip Jeff Skinner at a trade deadline, but guess what? Colin Graf is way better than Jeff Skinner right now. Hey, we signed Adam Gaudette with the idea of him being the 4C maybe, but hey, Ostapchuk, he's doing what we wanted the 4C role, so now you got to sit Gaudette a few games here and there and whatnot, right? And so the bar is much lower on defense, and we've seen it. I'm not trying to like gaslight you guys and tell you that John Klingberg has been really good for the Sharks or Nick Leddy or any of these guys, right?
Okay,
I think Orlov's been pretty good, but that's what I'm trying to make though. Like the bar is low on these guys that they keep playing these guys, and Nick Leddy came back from the dead after 2 months. Like, I really think, and it's not like Warsofsky coach speak, I think it's on ultimately these young players that they just haven't taken that step. Even Sam Dickinson, to some degree, he's taken that step to a little bit of a degree. I don't think he's like established himself as a bona fide top floor, whatever kind of guy yet, right? But I understand why they're being so deliberate and slow with him. But he's in the lineup every night so far, right? He hasn't been scratched in quite a while. And part of it is because the competition is lower. There's no Liljegren around anymore. And
they're playing him third line minutes mostly, yeah.
Yeah, right. But he's done okay with it, pairing. Right? Third pairing minutes, right? So his
competition isn't like super high. He doesn't have to face the same level of competition as Ferraro and Mukhamadullin.
No, but by competition, I mean the internal competition. I don't mean the competition on the ice. I mean the internal competition is low.
Here's my counter argument though. Like, I don't believe, and everything that I've seen, and this is just from just this year. This is not a who gives a shit about like the past or the future or like the actual thing. Nick Leddy has been a worse defenseman than Shakir Mukhamadullin this year by a mile on almost every metric. And watching the games, I think that he has been demonstrably worse. He has had moments where he's been passable, and then he plays more than 2 or 3 games in a row. He is slow, cannot move the puck out, and constantly bobbles in his own zone. And like they waived him with the intent to say, hey, there's some depth there if we need it, but we don't see you as a part of this top 6. They didn't see him as part of the top 7. Or even, I don't even remember if Iorio was around. They didn't see him as part of the top 8. And then suddenly, the team, not just Mukhamadullin, the team has a shit game in Ottawa. A shit game. Where they had like 18 hours before they had to start another game. They had travel in between, back-to-back games. They played a shit game. And Mukhamadullin, who, to his credit, was a 0, not a minus. He had some bad moments where he chipped the puck off the glass and did some things that were bad.
I don't think we
and had
watched
2
the tape.
assists.
I didn't think he was very good.
I watched the tape. Yes, he was not. But so was Ferraro. He was worse. Demonstrably worse.
Ferraro has utility beyond...
Okay, here's my thing.
Yeah.
I'm not dead. But here's the thing. So, the team has a horrible game. Not just Mukhamadullin. The team has an awful game. They let in 7 goals. Whatever. They are flat the whole time. They cannot defend. But why is it that the only thing we hear about is not we played like shit? It's we're sitting Mukhamadullin and we won't tell you a reason why. And it's like, watch the games, idiots. Like, that's the vibe that we get about it. Is like, oh, this was all Mukhamadullin's fault. And it didn't seem like it was. Like, yeah, I watched the tape. You watched the tape. He made bad plays. But it's not like he's been consistently horrible. He's been pretty okay with Ferraro. It felt like they finally had a top 6 that was holding serve in some ways. And they were like, yeah, but what if we tried Nick Leddy? And then it's like, why? You literally complained about how much Mukhamadullin doesn't get consistent. He can't get consistent playtime because he gets injured and then he gets scratched. And like, you're like, we're still developing him. And they're like, oh, that's really rough. And then he finally gets consistent playtime. He has, stretches where he's up and down. He scores a game-winning goal against Edmonton. He has 2 assists. He makes Ferraro more like activating, and it seems like his pair actually does some offense instead of just doing nothing. And then they're like, yeah, it's all his fault that we lost, not that we were just a flat-ass team who couldn't play. And they couldn't. They couldn't play against Ottawa. And in their biggest game of the year, that was the message. And then afterwards, it was, well, it's the young guy's fault. Like, I'm being generalizing, and I'm being a little bit hyperbolic, but that's what I think people get angry about with Warsofsky. And I see why. It's that mentality, rather than trying to say, we're a team, this is our team. It's trying to find the scapegoat, and a lot of times it's Mukhamadullin, and then it's generalizing a statement about it when he doesn't hold that same statement to other players, like, that are not pulling their weight. So I don't know. That's my honest opinion. I don't think that Mukhamadullin is. I think he's a top 6 defenseman for the Sharks right now. That's my opinion. I would take that one very far. I cannot find another defenseman in the Shark system right now that is better than him in the tops. Like, he's probably number 6, but that's it.
Yeah, it's not really saying
I know.
So much there.
But like, why did he come out and say like we were flat? It was like, it was more like, I don't know.
I mean, I think
the whole thing just made me upset.
PR, like, ways to handle things or say things better, but
yeah.
If you talk about specifically about sitting Mukhamadullin, like, well, you're not. Who else are you going to sit in the sense of? Okay,
you don't have
I know
to sit anybody.
Hold on. Let me finish though, right? That, like, and you and I, we talked about this. That these other players who have made mistakes, they have other utility. Ferraro has PK utility. The PK has been doing very well, but beyond that too, he's a guy that there's not ever a question of him, like, kind of, he makes mistakes, but he is always, giving 110%. That matters a lot to coaches. Okay. John Klingberg has power play utility, like it or not, and he moves the puck better than Mukhamadullin at this point still. Orlov, we don't have to argue about that.
Sure.
Desharnais has clear PK utility.
Yes, he does.
Sam Dickinson is your Macklin celebrating on defense. He's just the guy that, like, his development matters, even if he's like slightly, if it's like kind of like between Mukhamadullin and Dickinson to pull out. you probably sit Mukhamadullin. And so then it becomes, okay, Mukhamadullin, right? And there were things that they must have seen in his game. I didn't watch back to the Montreal and Boston games, which they won, but doesn't mean that Mukhamadullin was good in those games. And I did go back, just like you did, and I watched the Ottawa game, and he was not good. I watched. He really wasn't. And you can say, well, Farrell wasn't, the rest of the team wasn't, but I just told you other reasons why those guys might still be in the lineup, right? Other utility that they have that Mukhamadullin doesn't have on the Sharks team, right? He's not on the power play. He's not on the PK. Or he is on a PK, but he's not a top PK guy. So I don't know. I don't think that's.
I just think the question shouldn't be,
well,
who are you going to scratch?
Him. It's not.
It's why are you scratching?
No, but what I'm trying to tell you is that, like, it's not scapegoating the guy more. It maybe feels like it, but it's more like that's the guy that doesn't have other utility besides 5-on-5.
But why is
he's
the
not
question?
Playing other things.
Why is the question, well, like, who are you going to put in instead of just why are you scratching him in the first place? He's one of the top 6 Sharks defensemen. There's not. He is their answer.
He wasn't good against Ottawa though, and
neither was Laurent Brossoit, who hasn't played a game in 2 years. He hasn't played an NHL game.
I don't know why you bring up Brossoit. It has nothing to do with this.
Because here's my thing.
Askarov was hurt. So yeah, so that's nothing. Yeah.
Okay. But the point is that there was reasons why they lost that game that were not Shakir Mukhamadullin. They lost that game because they were flat. They had minimal rest. They had travel, and they were playing a goaltender who hasn't played in 2 years. It was like the most scheduled loss I've ever seen. I looked at that game and was like, they're going to lose this game. It just screamed that they're going to lose that game. And instead of being like, okay.
You're assuming that the Ottawa game was the only reason why that they took them out, too. And I would assume that, like I said, we haven't watched it, but I think there's a good chance that probably there are things they saw in prior games. It wasn't just a one-game thing. I wouldn't assume it just was a one-game thing.
But the team isn't it's like fighting for a playoff spot and doing well. Why does it? What are you going to gain by putting in Nick Leddy, who hasn't played an NHL game in 2 months? It's the same.
What's it say about the player though that he got pulled for a guy that got waived and nobody wanted him, and in the biggest game of the season up to this point, and they felt better about a guy that's played one professional game in the last 2 months than Mukhamadullin. That tells you.
What it says is, I think they were trying to make.
That's not targeting Mukhamadullin. That's more. He just hasn't been that good in their minds. They see something different than maybe you do or the fans do about. Oh, he was great 2 weeks ago against Edmonton. That's 2 fucking weeks ago. There's been 2 weeks of games.
He's played 20 minutes a night in between then, and has been. I don't know. I feel like he hasn't been bad.
Again, did you watch all the shift tape? I didn't either. I'm not saying I did. I didn't. But it's their job.
What I remember watching is that it seemed like Ferraro was activating a lot more and was more of an offensive role with Mukhamadullin, and that their pair was better than I remember. And that Mukhamadullin had been playing better than he had been playing before the Olympics. I wasn't saying he's a world beater, but I think that there was at least something happening there, and I think that they are positive goals for and goals against. They were doing okay. I think if you're looking for I guess,
right? And even you, I mean, I didn't look at it yet, but didn't you tell me that the expected goals were not great since the Olympics anyway? So I don't know. I'm not saying that's
it's pretty much exact. They're around the same between all the 3 pairings.
Okay.
They basically use the Klingberg and Orlov pairing, get the most offensive ice time, and they get the most time with Macklin in the first line and stuff like that. So they get typically they have a higher expected goals for. The Desharnais and Dickinson pairing is your starting in the defensive zone most often, which is interesting that they're using Dickinson like that as opposed to a transitional guy. They're kind of using him as a shutdown guy. Mm-hmm. Rather than giving him the reins, or letting Ferraro be your shutdown guy. They're using the Ferraro and Mukhamadullin pairing as their 50% offensive, 50% defensive transition pairing. And I think they were doing okay with it, but they were also playing against good competition, and they weren't getting the most forward help either. So I don't know. I don't want to get too heated about it. I really don't think that there was. I didn't see enough. We don't know. We don't know. We don't see Mukhamadullin in practice. We don't see what they see on the tape. Just to the untrained eye, I suppose, it felt like Ferraro and Mukhamadullin were forming a decent pairing, at least at moving the puck in the offensive zone more than Ferraro has ever done before. And I think some of that credit is to Mukhamadullin too.
Can I say, though, that, like, until they sat Mukhamadullin for this game, that I didn't think to watch the Ottawa game. I don't know if people necessarily, like, when you're watching a game and you're watching on the puck, you miss a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so it wasn't until he got sat and I sat down and I watched just Mukhamadullin for an entire game, his every shift. And you did the same thing, too, so I want to make that clear. It wasn't just me doing it. But I saw a lot of stuff like, oh, he really wasn't very good at all. And I'm not saying that just to say it. Like, if you go back and you fast forward through all of Mukhamudullin's shifts, you see, you might begin to see what I saw. Like, he was not very good defensively, especially. It wasn't even the puck moving that was problematic. I just thought defensively, if you just want to look at one goal, look at the Dylan Cousins goal and look at the switch. And he doesn't process the switch fast enough, and Cousins gets open, and then Malcolm Silverman gets really mad and breaks his stick, and Ottawa is up 6-4. And I think that one was on Mukhamadullin, just not processing the defensive switch and the fairly basic defensive stuff at the NHL level. This is not like you want to look at like yesterday, John Klingberg getting beat by Max Jones, but that's just a pure one-on-one. John Klingberg is not there. He's not gonna win that battle in most cases, and we know that about John Klingberg. And so I think there's a difference there too, where like you're losing something that you should be able to process faster. Mukhamadullin just didn't process that quick enough, whereas Klingberg just got beat on a pure one-on-one. These are different kind of things we're talking about. But anyway,
you're right. That is similar to the Mukhamadullin of early season, which was he can't get the man or the puck, or he can't block the lane. He does nothing. That's kind of what one of the bigger issues with Mukhamadullin's in zone defense is that when he doesn't wrap up well on the boards all the time, and he also doesn't break up passes super well. So if he neither gets the man nor the puck, he's kind of just in space, not doing much. And he doesn't. Yeah, but he doesn't cycle well. So I think his in zone defense is not great. I think the breakouts in Ottawa were bad. I think his rush defense was good, and I think his offensive zone play was actually pretty decent. And I think I just it gets a little frustrating when a lot of the times we've just been hearing about like, oh, Mukhamadullin needs more consistency in his game. And if you find something that he's not doing well, it just seems like they scratch him or he gets injured, and it's just more of the same with him. So I honestly think that they got to move on from him if this is the way that they want to develop him, because it doesn't seem like it's working.
Maybe that's the case. But I think though that I guess my point about watching the Ottawa tape myself is like any NHL coach watching Mukhamadullin initial view. Like watching on the puck, like an Angel coach will see a lot more. I'm not just talking about Ryan Warsofsky, but I'm talking about his entire staff, right?
Of course.
And then when they sit down and break down the tape, right, they're going to see a lot more than you and I just watching straight on. And they saw stuff they didn't like, and probably not just the Ottawa game. And so when they came down again to the biggest game of the year, they thought that their better shot was a guy that hadn't played in 2 months, and that's like I said, I put that more on Shakir's overall performance, and I guess that's where he just is great. I don't think that I think they want nothing more than Shakir than to be a clear-cut top 2, top 4 defenseman on his team. That benefits them because their job is to win, right? And so it benefits them if Shakir is doing that. I mean, you can argue that they're not giving Shakir enough confidence, all that sort of thing, right? And we can have that. That's another debate that will take too long, but we can agree they want to win and they want to put out the guys that they think will help them win. And so for whatever reason, they are not seeing it with at least they didn't see it for this particular game against the Edmonton Oilers. Other thing you bring up, and I guess we shouldn't spend too much time on this. We probably have spent too much time on this already. But
yeah, I mean, just people would want to hear about it for sure.
Yeah, the other thing you bring up is like whether or not Ryan Warsofsky needs to explain, like his decision making, and I think that's interesting because a lot of people have. Obviously, it'd be nice if he did, just for stories I write and for the fan base. But I don't get I don't get upset about it though when he kind of it's no commenting me because I asked first when I saw that Leddy was going to play. I asked first, what's the reasoning behind Leddy for Mukhamadullin, and then I asked, what about Mukhamadulin's play has lagged that has caused this? And he, I put it out. I put a story out. I put out exactly what he said. And so he basically no commented me. And I get the frustration from the fan base there too, that like, of course you want answers, even if you don't like them, but you want the coach to say something. I get that. But I don't really, doesn't really faze me because I don't see it as his job to explain things to me or the fans. I don't. His job was, what is Ryan Warsofsky's job? It's to win games. And you can laugh and say, well, he didn't win it. He didn't beat Edmonton. He didn't. It's true.
No, he didn't.
But you can also argue that he's won a lot more games this year than a lot of people thought he would. And it's not just Macklin. It is a lot Macklin, yes, but it's not just Macklin. It's Colin Graff. And a lot of Will Smith's had a good season. But anyway, so I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what you mentioned that it's frustrating that he doesn't explain, and I get that part of it. But I personally, some other people might see it differently in the press box, but I just don't see it as his job to have to do that. So. If he doesn't want to tell me, that's fine. I don't know.
You're right. It isn't his job. I do think that there was an option where he could have just played Mukhamadullin less in a game, because I do think that there is utility in having him play. And if you don't want him with Ferraro in the second pairing, you can move him down to the third pairing. I don't know. Like I know that like he's mentioned he's frustrated. Like Mukhamadulin's frustrated with how he was earlier on this season. I think he was he got a little bit of confidence boost after the Olympics when he started to play more minutes and play with more confidence and such. But he mentioned just being frustrated with the way that his season has gone. So I personally, I don't think that Nick Leddy gives you a better chance to win than Shakir. And I do think it's a little bit funny that he had the game of his career against Edmonton, and then they scratched him against Edmonton. Like, doesn't mean that he's going to have one.
I think that's like literally 2 weeks ago. That's a different game. Like, whatever, I'm not going to play a guy just because he had a good game against a team 2 weeks ago. And actually, I thought Nick Leddy was decent, actually. He wasn't problematic against Edmonton. He had a couple of bad plays. I think one play in particular, we all saw. I think he was really slow. It's the forecheck swallowed him up. I don't remember who it was. It wasn't particularly like special guy. Yeah, it was Henrique maybe or somebody like that. But otherwise, and I was watching him pretty close. And no, I did not watch shift for shift, but I actually thought that he was decent otherwise. And you could argue in that particular game, Leddy versus Edmonton versus Mukhamadullin versus Ottawa, that Leddy was better. I don't know. I'm not trying to tell you that Nick Leddy right now is the Nick Leddy of old or whatever, or that he was amazing. I don't think he was, but it's kind of like you take a guy that in your mind maybe does you less harm, maybe less potential good, but less potential harm in a Leddy, versus a guy that maybe has more swings of up and down. And obviously Mukhamadullin does have some highs, but he does have some very serious lows too. And so they went with a different option there. And so I I think again, I don't see this on so much the coaching. I don't see this as Leddy being some great defenseman still, because like everyone mentioned that he got passed over by 31 teams on waivers. It's that Mukhamadullin just hasn't taken this step. And actually, this is a new point I would bring up, I guess, so we could at least move this conversation forward. That like you and I, we both like Mukhamadullin a lot. So I think everyone who listens or follows, they know this isn't me and an animus against Mukhamadullin or whatever, because like I've had Mukhamadullin ranked very, very high in the prospects rankings for a long time.
Yeah.
I've heard a lot of good things about Mukhamadullin, talking to scouts, right? But I think what happens, and I've thought a lot about this because we've had this with Cagnoni, we've had this with other top guys, top AHL guys. Once a guy has an AHL All-Star season, I feel like fans don't put in enough sort of... The guy has to take another leap from there. It's not he's an AHL All-Star, now he's automatically going to be an AHL Impact player. Even when Mukhamadullin was an AHL All-Star and people were telling me stuff, scouts were telling me, like, hey, this guy... I mean, I think I said back then, like, wow, this is the first prospect that scouts have unanimously liked at the Sharks in a long time. Besides maybe Eklund. Yeah, it wasn't like even like Bordelot, they had a lot of questions about Gushin back then, right?
Yep.
And the scouts were right on those guys. And all the other guys, your Blickfelds, your Gregors, going back further, right? So they really liked Mukhamadullin that season, but them liking the player was contingent on Mukhamadullin taking another huge leap forward from that season. And the same goes for Cagnoni last year, right? Cagnoni was I don't know if I think he was AHL All-Star, but he had an amazing season last year. But
I think he was.
Yeah, it doesn't stop there. I think there's sort of a perception, or fans kind of forget that the guy's got to take another huge leap from okay, now he is an AHL Impact player. He's got to take another big step from there. Like, again, the example is Colin Graf. Colin Graf was great last year in AHL. But then he went to the NHL, and he just was decent, right? He was okay. I had some questions about him, right? I don't know if I was sold on Colin. I wasn't sold on Colin Graf last year based on his AHL play.
Yeah, for sure.
But clearly, Colin took another leap from there. Colin is much better than he was in the NHL last year, right? Whereas I don't know if Shakir ever took that leap from that AHL All-Star season. That's what we're waiting for Luka to do too. And so I want to say, because I think that's something I've been thinking about. I think that like once the player reaches that stature, that standard in AHL, I feel like fans just sort of think, oh, this guy's going to be in the Sharks lineup for the next decade. Gushin too. Gushin was AHL All-Star too, and fans sort of pencil this guy into the lineup. And no, he's got to take another huge leap from there. He's got to take basically the level of leap to be like a decent AHL, good AHL player to All-Star. That's that sizable leap. He's got to take that next leap into the NHL. And we've seen so many guys not do that for not just the Sharks, but any system you look at, right? Jack Thompson's another guy. He was an AHL All-Star for Tampa, for the Syracuse Crunch, and he did not take that extra huge leap that he needed to, and that's why he didn't make it. So anyway, I think that's sort of my thought on Mukhamadullin, that as much as I've liked him, as much as you liked him, as much as scouts liked him a couple of years ago, and I talk with these same scouts, and he just hasn't taken that, like, he kind of plateaued there. Not that to say that he's not better than he was that year, a couple of years ago, that AHL All-Star season, but he's not that much better, though. And that's obviously concerning, because he's 24 now.
Yeah. I think the difference between Gushin and Cagnoni and Bordelot and Mukhamadullin is that Mukhamadullin is the prototypical size for the role that he's going to be hopefully fulfilling one day in the NHL, and that the Sharks' blue line is very, very thin, whereas our forward core has been pretty. At least the prospect pipeline has been more stacked than the defensive pipeline, so it feels more important if Mukhamadullin hits a ceiling than it did the other guys, like Bordelot and Gushchin. So I think there's two things. One is that I don't think Mukhamadullin has progressed, like you said, to the level that he needed to after that season. And then the other is that he hasn't had the consistency, whether it's his injuries or his play or coaching decisions, to really figure out if he is a top 4 or top 6 defenseman in the NHL yet. And I think the problem is you're running out of time to figure that out. So I really think that some of this I want to say is on management rather than coaching. I think I probably am not going to get a Christmas card from Warsofsky anytime soon, because I think I criticize him a lot. Not a lot, but enough that I don't think I'm going to get a Christmas card. But some of it is down to Greer too. Like Greer
I'm not
didn't
getting it either, so
yeah, true. Neither of us are. But Greer didn't acquire anybody on defense, really. Like he shipped out Liljegren. I know he tried. I'm sure he did. He didn't like the prices, and he didn't acquire anybody. So some of this is that the defense is thin because it started thin and hasn't gotten any better. Like Dickinson has evolved some to be a passable NHL defenseman, and that's kind of, and Klingberg has had moments where he's been okay, or Lob's been a good find, but the defense is thin. So it's not all on Warzo for this. It's just that is what it is. So we are kind of like rearranging deck chairs in a way that, is it deck chairs in the Titanic? Is it Leddy or is it Mukhamadullin that is a better fit right now? I don't know, but I know that I'd rather watch Mukhamadullin fail than I'd rather watch Nick Leddy fail. So
I mean, I would rather too, right? But again, though, I mean, I think you said it though, that like the defense is thin. So I put that on Mukhamadullin, that he's got to take a job and just put any thought of Nick Leddy, of any of these other guys playing again. He's just got to be that good. You know, Colin Graff put Jeff Skinner into, you know, into the phantom zone, and that's what he's got to do, and he just hasn't. And that's, I think, on the player. But anyway, I don't want to repeat it. But
yeah, we've gone through Mukhamadullin enough. I think we're okay on that.
All right. So let's talk Igor Chernyshov just a little bit here. Igor Chernyshov suffered a concussion in Montreal when he got tangled up with Mike Matheson there. Oh, you know what? We did forget about talk about Will Smith a little bit too, but let's we'll dovetail that with the Chernyshov discussion, because I'm so excited to see that line, to see Chernyshov, Celebrini, and Smith. It was awesome. Just to see their combination of talents and skills, just kind of seems like this could be a Sharks line for a decade or so, and that got short-circuited just for now, right there within the first shift. I think the good news here is that it looks like, I know it's a concussion, so we never know. It's very serious, but it looks like he's avoided the worst. He was able to travel with the team from Montreal to Ottawa. I saw him joking, watching practice in Edmonton, and so it looks like he's avoided the worst, and they're being cautious with him, so I don't necessarily think, I don't know exactly when he'll play and be back on the ice, but I think that's great, that he probably avoided the worst of it, and just also too that I hope that we get to see this line really. You know, I actually was thinking about this line the second that Will Smith came back, because I just thought, wow, that line just makes sense to me. Because you have Chernyshov's kind of power and speed, which Will Smith doesn't quite have, right? And you have Will Smith's just kind of otherworldly skill and finesse, and that's not quite Chernyshov's game. And you have Macklin in the middle, who's kind of an everything. He has all of that, right? Kind of stapling it together. And I just thought this was going to be a great complement of abilities here. And that didn't happen when Will Smith came back from injury, because, they sent Chernyshov down. And so it's sort of been a line that's been teased for a couple of months here, at least in my mind, in my head.
Yeah. It makes me a little sad that they did send Chernyshov down in the first place, but that was also Like there's a lot of bodies. It was a too many
like,
men
forwards, right? Yeah.
and it didn't get solved for a little while until the trade deadline and then also the contract termination of Jeff Skinner. So it didn't really.
Yeah, they don't worry about the roster stuff anymore, too.
So, but I do think that it is time to see what Chernyshov can bring to the top six, and I think hopefully he recovers easily from this concussion, as easily as you can from a concussion. Never want to rush it, obviously. Yeah. A second concussion is the thing you want to avoid. A second head hit after a first head hit. So as much time as he needs. It's for guys like Misa, and I was going to say this earlier about Misa too. I'm not mad about Misa getting less minutes. I'm not mad about Chernyshov getting more time in the AHL. I'm not mad about resting and waiting for Chernyshov to get better from injury or whatever. Those guys, like, I think they need time to develop, and they're not like they're going to be part of the team's future, and that, right? Like Misa, if he plays third line minutes for the rest of the year, that's fine with me. I don't think he needs to play shotgun to Celebrini and try and I think he just needs to develop a game that is his style, and he is slowly, and we're seeing it. And the same thing with Chernyshov. Yeah. So I'm not worried about how much ice time they get. It's kind of like Smith last year. They're in this development stage. I have some concerns about the defense and everything like Mukhamadullin and Dickinson, but the forward group I think is going to be fine long term. So I'm happy to see Chernyshov too. Hopefully he comes back soon.
I did mention that we did want to talk about Smith's ice time a little bit. Smith played, I think, 13 minutes last night in Edmonton. I think the second lowest this season or something like that. I think it's one thing that did occur to me when I was thinking about this is that Macklin has moved forward things a bit with just how good he's been this year, and I don't think people expected Macklin to be quite this good. And so then you're looking for, okay, who's going to be his Draisaitl? Who's going to be his Malkin, his Patrick Kane, right? And sure. Will Smith is the obvious candidate for it. But Will Smith's development has been great, really. Like, but when you compare it to the otherworldly evolution of Macklin, then it's just like, okay, Yeah. And so that's a little unfair to Will, though, because his evolution from where he was last October to now, it's astounding. It's remarkable. He is just turned 21 yesterday, but at basically 20-year-old, he's a point per game player in the NHL.
Yeah.
That's special.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so, right? Yeah. So, and I think if Macklin had developed at a more regular pace that we expected, like I expected, and I've talked about this, like I thought Macklin would be like Nick Suzuki this year. He'd be like Mark Scheifele. That would be his development curve. You go from really good rookie to like a top 50, top 40 player in the league, or wherever you might put Suzuki or Scheifele in that kind of range. I did not expect him to vault as, kind of explode like he has, but that also kind of necessitates, okay, you got to find somebody for Macklin to play with to some degree, right? But it also puts more pressure on a Will Smith. And so when you have a game like the Edmonton game yesterday, which is like a confluence of like, this is the most important game that the Sharks have played in 7 years. And it's against a team, obviously, that is ahead of them in the playoffs, where the Sharks have games in hand that conceivably the Sharks could catch by the end of the season. And when it's not going for that Celebrini, Smith, Colin Graf line, and then Ryan Warsofsky feels the need to kind of push some buttons and try to see what he can get going, right? And it makes Will Smith look bad in a sense of like he's kind of being singled out and he doesn't play the 6-on-5. And I know there are shortcomings to Will Smith's game that he needs to kind of work on and get better. He's never going to be Tom Wilson. No one's asking him to be that, but can he be a little better in puck battles? Can he be a little better defensively? Can he, and I think he can be, right? So I think it's I think I just found that to be a kind of a really interesting storm of factors there that happened. I think in part because of Macklin's evolution, but nothing actually problematic about Smith's game in perspective to his age and to kind of.
Yeah, even just the generic sophomore slump that a shit ton of hockey players go through. He's some
Not they Mitchkov.
kind of Mitchkov's going through a pretty laborious, I don't know, pretty impressive slump right now, and like having a ton of issues with the coaching and his ice time. So this is really normal for every rookie that is not named Macklin Celebrini.
Yeah,
and Connor Bedard. And even Bedard.
Well,
had
even
like
Bedard.
Yeah,
of course.
Exactly.
You know.
So it's like
it's Macklin. Sorry to interrupt, but it's like
McDavid.
Guys who haven't had this opportunity. It's Macklin. It's Crosby. It's McDavid. Even McKinnon.
It's Ovechkin.
His game dropped off after Calder. Yeah, the Calder Trophy. So his Calder Trophy win. So yeah. So anyway, yeah.
I agree. I don't fault Warzone for that at all. And as Dan Boyle said, this is all our. As Dan Boyle has said many times, this is all our opinion. We don't run hockey teams. So, I feel like I've been shitting on Warzone this whole episode, so I want to say I apologize to Ryan. Because I do think that Warsofsky's done a good job overall. Like, it's hard to manage this group of players in this kind of transition period, and you're right, they've won way more games than I thought they would. Macklin has scored way more points than I thought he would. They've developed players like Graf and even Dickinson more than I thought they would, and Misa as well. So, yeah, I think no matter what happens, even if they don't make the playoffs, it's still a successful season. So that's what I want to keep in mind.
Yeah, I mean, I think in the micro, if you don't like the decisions made for the Edmonton game, be it Leddy for Mukhamadullin or the carousel wingers for Macklin or pulling Misa,
I don't want to see Goodrow next to
that was
Celebrini
weird. Yeah,
again.
I don't. Yeah, well, that was different. That's more Macklin taking fourth line minutes from us. That's different because Macklin has sort of the privilege. He's given the carte blanche to like basically double shift himself, which is still amazing to think about. But anyway, though, like if you don't like the micro, I get it. But like, and it was the biggest game of the year. Well, until the next game tomorrow against Buffalo. But yeah, I mean, on the aggregate though, like Will Smith is a better. I mean, how much do you give that to Warsofsky? You know, that can be very fairly debated. But the only player that has really plateaued that you wanted a lot from might be Mukhamadullin. Everybody else has clearly gotten better from when we first saw them. Be it Misa, Dickinson, Smith,
but
Eklund is not. But that's a different one. Where Eklund, I think, is more health. Like when Eklund is on his game. Like the William Eklund we saw the first 10 games of the season in October. Even the William Eklund, I think William's actually been pretty good post-Olympics. That's a better William Eklund. Yeah, that's an issue, but that's like Ryan Warsofsky can't teach him to you know to put a top shelf, you know. So, but the William Eklund as a forward checker and just as a dog on the puck. I've liked this William Eklund. Like if you can take William's best 30 games this year versus his best 30 games last year versus his best 30 games the year before, I think William Eklund's game has grown. Maybe not as exponentially as people want, which I get, you know, because he's got a big contract, and he's like the first of kind of the Sharks kind of top end prospects, and there was so much expectations for him when he was 18 and 19, maybe unfairly so, because Sharks fans had nobody else to kind of attach themselves to, right? But I think his game has grown though. It's just the point that I'm trying to make, and I'm trying to think. Maybe I'm missing somebody, but I think of all the major prospects, obviously Gushin topped out, but I don't know if that was ever going to work. I don't know.
Askarov's been up and down, I guess, but that's not on Warsaw, really.
I mean, he's given Askarov as much kind of rope in terms of giving him the games, right? When Nedeljkovic has been clearly better over the last couple months. I think there's an argument that Nedeljkovic should have had the lion's share of games over the last couple months here. So I don't know. The sound and the theory about yesterday's game, I do find it a bit much for actually what we see on the ice. And we'll see, right? Like maybe he will ruin Will Smith's like confidence, right? But that's one thing that people ask me about. Like, I do see that Mukhamadullin's the type that maybe he does need that confidence and to know that he gets every game, that sort of thing, right? Maybe that'll help him. But I also see the other side of it where the Sharks are trying to win games like right fucking now, and they have identified that for this one game that they just weren't sure about Mukhamadullin. They wanted to see what Leddy had. Like I said to you, like, if this version of Nick Leddy is threatening your job, that's on you as Mukhamadullin. I do see it that way, cut and dry. But the other part of it though is that like with a Will Smith though, that Will, in my dealings with him and just talking with people, he's just a very confident kid. Like, you can bench him a couple times, you can rinse him in the media or whatever. Not that I think we're really hard on Will overall, but like, but that he believes in his abilities at such a level. And I mean, look at how he grew up, breaking records at US NDP, 71 points as a freshman at Boston College on a wagon of a team that lost a national championship. But like, I think I saw a quote from Ryan Leonard or something like that. He was like, if we play Denver like 10 times, we beat them 9 out of 10 times, Denver team that beat them for a national championship, Like, that's a confident, like, that's like the aura that Will kind of brings. And so until I see a demonstrable reason to think that Warsofsky is sucking the life out of him, I'm not worried about Will. And I think part of it too is I think Warsofsky, you got to handle players differently too, right? And so like, I think that Warsofsky, I would guess, maybe knows he can be a little tougher on a Will Smith, even in public and in private, and because he knows you coach people differently, right? Sure. And so, the public messaging, the private messaging, right? I don't even know if Warsofsky yesterday, when he didn't want to talk about Mukhamadullin, he might have been trying to protect Mukhamadullin. I'm not saying I know that for a fact, but like, this is possible though, and so anyway, so I overall, I'm not worried about Will until I see real evidence that there's an issue in terms of how he's being handled, I guess. But like I mentioned earlier, I think there is a little bit of that. Yeah, I mean, there's the good part of playing with Macklin because he gets you a lot of points, but there's also the other side of it too. So, okay, moving on, unless you have anything else to say about Will Smith.
No, not really. I think he's gonna be fine. Like you said, he's a confident kid.
Yeah. Let's run through the last few things. I want to get to the top 10 prospects. I think we've been jabbering too much. So. Okay, so Brossoit got recalled. Askarov hurt. Askarov's supposed to be a short-term injury, from what I understand. He stayed with the team. I saw him around. He looked normal. He wasn't like in the cast or walking around in crutches or anything like that, right? So hopefully he'll be back soon. Even though Brossoit got lit up by Ottawa, and he gave up, I think, one or two goals that he would definitely want to have back. But I still think that was a really good trade. I have a lot more confidence with Laurent Brossoit as your number 3 goalie than Jakub Skarik, which is what you had going into the season. And Brossoit has a really good track record, so who knows? Bad game against Ottawa can be lights out the next game. So
and he's been playing well in the AHL. And so I agree. And when I remember watching him in past seasons, I think he was a backup with Winnipeg a couple years ago.
We joked about this. We talked about him every year, every summer, you and I. Like, hey, maybe the Sharks will sign this guy. This guy might be a guy who might be ready for a 1A job.
So, and I thought at the beginning of that game that it was going to be one of those games where maybe Brossoit was going to steal it, and then it
I thought it was pretty good to start off, actually. Yeah.
I think it was more of, again, the Sharks were way flat. That game was like...
They were flat too, yeah. They didn't help them much, yeah.
No, they were like trying to counterpunch, and they just couldn't hold a lead. They just kept... Yeah, anyway. Bad game.
But I want to
was upset about that
one. This is the one I give Mike credit for, to kind of identifying that, hey, this Sharks are a little better than we thought. We need to maybe improve this number 3 spot. That over the summer, we had no, there wasn't anybody else that I don't know. They ended up with Skarek. There, some other guys, maybe they're going for some other guys. They just couldn't get them. But anyway, that they made this trade, and they gave him a 4th-round pick, I think, a couple years in advance. But Nolan Allen's an okay prospect. Yeah, he's an okay prospect, right? So.
Yeah, I watched him today, in fact, because for prepping this top 10 prospects, and I was like, oh, yeah.
Oh, I actually didn't count. I should have mentioned. I don't think I count Allen in that group just because he played too many games.
I didn't include him in my top 10, so he's an honorable mention anyway. So
okay.
He didn't make the top 10, but
all right.
But I watched him just to be like, is he? But I felt him honorable mention.
Okay, so Ty Dellandrea re-signed for 2 years. I think 3.2 something million, 1.625 AAV. I have no issue with this. I don't think he really. I don't think he really blocks anybody that is sort of, again, like I love Ty, but like if you are Philip Easted and you can't take Ty Dellandrea's job, just like I think against Shakir, I think that's on you. And so love Ty's motor, love his versatility, and the contract is low, and it's lower than probably it maybe would have been if he had stayed healthy. So kind of taking advantage of giving, Ty gets some certainty here with his injury, where he's going to be the next couple of years, or at least who's going to pay him for the next couple of years. And the Sharks get a player that they like. That obviously you wish there was more offense there, but everything else you like him everywhere else except for that. And so there's a use for a player like that on your 4th line to swing up to a 3rd line, not full time maybe like he has this year, but part time in the future as the Sharks get better and deeper. Yeah, I think I have no issue with any of this.
Yeah, I think it's fine. I think there was a hope in the beginning of the year that he was going to take off in that offensive role.
Yeah.
And then he kind of tapered off from there. But if they see him as like your replacement in the 4th line and maybe replacement forward, I think it's fine. I think the other bigger issue is that counting the forward spaces next year, they already have 13 essentially slotted. If you count the signings of Colin Graff and Zach Ostapchuk, who they both like, they already have 13. That's not even including Philip Kurashev, or if for some reason we re-signed Reeves, which I don't think we will, but like they already have 13 pretty much slotted in. So you're really kind of saying, I don't think any of the CUDA forwards are going to be on the Sharks roster next year, basically, unless you make a lot of trades, which they might still, or guys might steal a job. It's very possible. Things happen, or guys get injured or whatever. But
did you count Chernyshov in that 13?
I did.
Is he in that 13? Okay.
Because I think I think they will see him in the future as a top 6 guy. So.
But this is what I say though about like I like a deeper team where like a Quentin Musty and a Beasted, they've got to push out, or they've got to turn. Beasted needs to turn Alex Wennberg into a winger. Basically, that's like if you look at basically what his challenge is. If Michael Misa is going to be your 2C of the future, which everything points like maybe not right now yet, but that's his future, and then Wennberg slots and he's your 3C. B-set's gotta be so good that they're like, hey, I guess we can put Alex on wing now. That's a good thing.
Yeah, or Ostapchuk on wing too.
Right,
and
or Ostapchuk. But I think B-set is more the kind of style he plays. Well, if he hits the ceiling, you want him as your 3C. You don't really want him putting your 4C, right? And it's actually the same for Ostapchuk, right? Like, can Ostapchuk be so good that they're like, wow, this guy can actually play 3C. Maybe we can trade Beasted, or maybe we put Wennberg on wing. These are all good problems to have, right? And we're talking about Quentin Musty, same kind of thing. Like, he's got to be so good that they're like, I guess we can trade Philip Kurashev now. We signed Kurashev over the summer, or somebody like Kurashev, right? Not Kurashev, or Gaudette or something like that. He's got to be so good. They're like, well, you know what? This Musty kid is, whatever, right? And that's what actually we thought about Chernyshov, right? Chernyshov has done that. Chernyshov was so good, has been so good. He's impressed me so much too, I would say too. And rarely, guys, you've heard me talk about this, or we watch a lot of kids together with the Sharks. Rarely do guys impress me so much in 15 games, right? Like a Chernyshov has, right? And anyway, that they're like, okay, we got to put him in the lineup, and that's what the bar should be, I think, for a prospect. And that's where we go back to the discussion about handing things or not, how much things were handed. So take Ty Dellandrea's job, basically, is a challenge. So if you're Ethan Cardwell, if you're still here, a guy like that, of that ilk, that's the guy, that's the job you got to take. Okay.
And I do like that the team is deeper forward.
Yeah,
like I do think that is a strength of the Sharks, is the forward group, rather than just trying to hobble together forwards. So
yeah,
and they went out and acquired Sherwood, and hopefully Chernyshov does turn into that, and we have an actual formidable top 9, like not just like a passable one. This is a good top 9 group of forwards, and then you have some guys that you like on the fourth line that can PK and provide hits and energy and stuff. So yeah, I'm not mad about it. It's just I thought it was interesting that like I didn't foresee him getting a deal up front. I thought this was going to go into the summer, and then they would figure out if he's part of the future. But I guess they like him enough that he is. So
yeah, one thing I think about is that I think we've been doing this podcast for 3 years, and I've actually been covering this team for San Jose Hockey now since 2020, and I've always said the same thing: hasn't deviated. Take a job, take a job, take a job, take a job. And finally, this year, people are actually taking jobs. This is really the first year that I really feel like people are really taking jobs. They're pushing out like path of least resisted roster constructions, where it makes sense for Colin Graf to go to the Barracuda, so then Jeff Skinner can can get his playing time, or guys like that, right? Like, and this is how good teams are actually built, So anyway. So I like this, and so last thing I want to shout out before we get to our top 10 prospects really quick is William Eklund's goal, incredible goal. I don't think we had to talk too much about it, but I just think he deserves a shout out for just how cool that goal was. I think it's not just that he scored, obviously flying in the air, but he had the wherewithal to smack that puck and roof it while flying in the air, right? I mean, just
ridiculous.
Ridiculous, right?
So Eklund, he has so much shiftiness with his skating. He has so much fluidity with how he moves, and just he's acrobatic at times. And just watching that was just like, oh, that's Eklund. Just
that's
you
fun,
love it,
right?
Yeah, it's fun. I love it. I was like, holy shit! Again, I know everybody was saying the same thing when they watched that goal, but I was like, oh my god,
yeah,
just one of the most electrifying goals I can remember in a while, and it's good for him too. He needed the monkey to come off his back a bit.
He needed
for
it.
Sure. So
he needed it. I
love that. I love that goal.
I wish Zuber was on here, because that's one thing that I think we could talk about in the future. Like, I still feel like we haven't decided who the Sharks' second best forward is, and I think it's because like every night. I'll just say this really quickly, that like there is no clear second best forward on his team, for better or worse. Like, on some nights, I think it is William Eklund. On some nights, it is Will Smith. On some nights, it is Alex Wennberg. On some nights, as we've seen in the last couple of weeks, it is actually Heath or Sherwood. On some nights, it can still be Tyler Toffoli, right? And so I think that if we talk about something for Eklund and Will Smith to sort of, not a goal, but something to think about, is can one of those guys, like, define themselves as that in the coming years? So.
Yeah, we kind of assumed it would be Will Smith, that he does have the second most points, just above Toffoli, but
it probably
we'll see.
Be Will, but
or maybe Misa. Misa's got some special sauce.
Misa's
there.
Another one too, right? Misa. Misa and Smith are probably your popular choices, but I don't want to forget William Eklund there, because I think there's a possibility that he can be that too. So anyway, okay, so. Take a breath. We're going to do our top 10 prospects. Okay, we're going to do a top 10 countdown style like we've done it. Yep.
I am almost out of my grapefruit.
Oh, yeah.
Deliciousness.
I've been working on this little glass of whiskey here, so yeah, I finished that a little while ago. So
You know what we haven't had in a while?
yeah,
I'm gonna do Keegan's Prospect Corner.
Keegan's Prospect Corner. Keegan's Prospect Corner.
but
not
also
specifically-
my prospects corner. It's my
Yeah,
prospect list
exactly.
too.
I was gonna say we didn't get a chance to edit the music to be Sheng and Keegan's Prospect Corner.
Shang's prospects corner. Shang, everybody, Shang's prospects corner.
I don't know, not as catchy.
Stop,
But
stop
we're gonna do
cutting
a
out
top
my
10.
dreams. I'm
Yeah.
Shakir Mukhamadullin. You're Ryan Warsofsky.
I'm putting you down, man. It's the way it is. You gotta take a bench.
You gotta earn the ice time. You gotta earn the singing time. So earn the music
I was
time.
looking through just before we start, because I know we're gonna probably go for a little while. I was looking through a prospect list of mine from 2023, because this was from August of 23. Because I was just like, where have we gone? Where have we come from? You know. And some of the names are kind of the same, but then I'm like, oh man,
Rock in the top 5 a couple of years ago.
no, Canadalock on
That's
this
what I
list was 17. So I clearly
I think before
Yes.
we started because I've been doing this list since I started in 2020 the website, and I think like 4 years ago it was
God, he looked
Eklund,
good.
Bordelot, and it was Gannon LaRock.
Yep. But yeah, some of these names have made it, right? Like I had Will Smith as number 1. This must have been right after the draft in 23. William Eklund number 2, Beast at 3, Musty 4, Shakir Mukhamadullin 5, Henry Thrun was number 6 on my board.
Well, 3 or 6 haven't quite made it yet, to be honest. So
Honestly, 3 through 10 haven't made it yet.
yeah.
Goose, Jid, Bordelot, Havlet, Halttunen, Cam Lund is 11, Cagnoni was 12, Robbins was 13, Cardwell 14. So what I'm trying to say is that there's a lot of guys. I went down to 20 on this list for whatever reason. I found this in my computer from 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And like,
This is your very first one?
no, I don't. No, not my first one. It's just one that I
your
could
first
find.
one with us or with doing it with
might
me.
have been- I think it was, because this would
Okay.
have been right after the 23 draft, and we started right before the 23 draft. So
Yeah, we like to do the preseason one and we do the post trade deadline one. So
yeah, so this would have been
it's
right
usually
after.
post deadline they acquire somebody, but they acquired nobody.
Nothing. So anyway, just thought it was very funny. The only person who's actually in the NHL from there is Ozzy Weisblatt was down at number 14, and he famously Ozzy the big hitter knocked out Leon Draisaitl for the season.
Yeah, he's actually still helping the Sharks out.
And I texted Jason Demers, because if you remember one time, he might have said it on offline or on the podcast. Jason Demers said like that weirdly that Ozzy Weisblatt was like a really good hitter in the AHL, and one time Ozzy came up to him and laid a hit on him, and he was like, "What the fuck, kid? Like, what are you doing?" So I texted Jason and was like, "Did you see that your favorite AHL hitter knocked out Leon Draisaitl?" He's like, "Ozzy the killer," is what he said. So anyway, let's go on. What do you want to start with honorable mentions, Shang, or did you do any honorable mentions?
No. I say honorable mentions last, because if we say honorable mentions, then we know who's going to be in the top 10, right? So,
Good
all
point.
right. So, why don't I'll go first, and then
Great.
and then you go. Okay. So let's start off number 10.
Brrr, brrr.
All right, I have Simon Haoxi Wang,
Nice.
and I'm going to talk more about it in a second with Wang. So after number 9. So I'm going to let you go ahead and.
All right. I have Carson Wetsch as number 10.
Okay.
And this bottom part of the list from like 8 onwards, I felt to be, or maybe 9 onwards, I felt to be a little hard for sure.
Yeah.
And Wetsch, I watched him recently, and I've always considered him to be kind of a chippy energy guy, good shot. And then I saw a couple of, like this year, he's upped his production quite a bit. He's playing huge minutes for his team. And I found some like actual good hands, like a couple of good hands plays that I was like, this doesn't. I thought that he didn't have that type of skill, So I like that he's adding a little bit more offensive flair to him, which is what he needs if he's going to succeed in a bottom six role in the NHL. Yes, the shot is good. Yes, the energy is good, but he still needs to be like, even Ty Dellandrea has a lot of skill, right? Like, there still needs to be a bar of skill for you to be a bottom six forward.
A lot of skill. What do you mean with Ty? A lot of skill, like relative to NH?
Yeah, relative to, like, if you compare him to an AHLer, or a prospect or what have you, or your standard player, even Ty Dellandrea, or your pick a bottom six forward in the NHL, they have a lot of skill to make plays. And that's the problem with a lot of prospecting, is people fall in love with that guy can hit, that guy can shoot, but if that guy can't make plays, that guy probably won't play in the NHL. So
sure.
I think I saw a little bit more from him, that I moved him at the number 10 spot, but this a 9 through 14 was really, really close. But I like Wetsch. I think he's got a lot of qualities to him that make him a decent bet for an NHLer.
Yeah, this actually leads me to my number 9. I was actually going to say something similar. It's Cole McKinney, but nice. I was told flat out by a couple of people that neither McKinney or Wang are top 10 prospects.
They really aren't.
And
this is kind of me that
it tells you that, like you said, 9 through 14 or whatever it is, right? They're very interchangeable names, I think, when we talk about this Sharks prospects pool. And so, and I should add the caveat, which I do every time we do this, that I don't watch these guys like you do, Keegan. So I want to make that clear. I don't want to misrepresent myself. But I do talk with scouts, I think 4 or 5 people in this case, who do watch all these guys, or most of these guys, and as, whatever, for an NHL team. So, anyway, on Wang and McKinney, this scout said, neither of them have done much this year in his mind, and also that Wang is not very good defensively still, which I know Wang is a project from the beginning, but it might be next year or the year after that we see that big leap, if it happens at all. So anyway, my number 9 is Cole McKinney.
Nice. My number 9
no,
is...
not nice. Not nice, Keegan. That's the point. Not nice.
I have
This is a number 9
McKinney...
Cagoni of years past.
Yeah, you're right. That was kind of the shock was... I did this, plus I did, like, realistic upside or ceiling, or kind of like where I could see their fits, and I was like, oh no. It's different
There's
than
so much
prior
attrition,
years.
right? Yeah, like Sam Dickinson, Michael Misa, Askarov, they were all on the list. I think our general cutoff, or at least my cutoff, was about 50 games. So that tells you who is still on this list. About 50. But so much attrition, though. So that's a big part of it. Like, this is such a different looking list than we had in the preseason. So anyway.
Yeah, and I didn't include Michael Misa because I feel like
I didn't include him either. I guess he's not
under 50 games, but
he's under, but still, I did not either. So okay.
Yeah, so I had Kasper Halttunen at number 9, and in some ways this was tough because I've been really low on Halttunen, and I still, in some ways, am kind of low on Halttunen. I've watched him a lot in the OHL and then in the AHL as well. There still is the good with Halttunen. I do think that some parts of his game have rounded out to be a passable player at even strength, more than I thought that they would. So that's why I moved him up on the list, because I think most CRC is typically around 10 to 12 for me, and also because we just don't have a lot of high upside on this part. I think McKinney is a good example of a guy that I think has maybe a higher likelihood to be like a 200 game guy, but Halttunen, if in that small chance that he can figure out a way to stick, has power play utility.
Oh, sure.
So I kind of
he has a translatable skill. Yeah.
Yes,
so.
he is a great shooter,
right,
and a great power play player. If you can get him the puck, but that's kind of where it ends for him now.
You get open too.
Yeah,
that's
so
on him too.
He has had a decent season though, and I think that there is a little bit of. I think the worry is he ends up being somebody who the Sharks have on their Barracuda squad is like Oliver Wahlstrom, where he has a great shot and he never really figures out the rest of the game to be an NHLer. That's kind of the worry with Halttunen. And I do see that is kind of a very realistic path for him, is like a tweener guy. But if you do get him in the right spot and maybe he develops a little bit more at 5-on-5, there is definite power play utility. So I put him at 9. 9 through 14 was all kind of like, not super sold.
I'm with you totally there. I had Kasper as an honorable mention, but I did get some feedback. One scout said, yeah, I still believe in the tools, but it has struggled to transfer at the AHL level. I know that he has had some flashes with the Barracuda, but on most nights he's third or fourth line, right? And you like to see him a little higher up in the lineup for sure. And another scout told me that he would remove Wang for Halttunen. And I think for all the reasons that we enumerated, just that Halttunen, he's got a translatable. I mean, Wang has translatable skills too, his skating and whatnot. Yeah. But I think that Halttunen's closer. You could see it a little more with Halttunen because he's closer to the NHL than Wang is. So anyway, Halttunen was a honorable mention for me. Number 8.
Who you got?
I have Eric Pohlkamp.
Nice.
And I think part of the reason why I wanted to do this list is it's fun to talk with scouts and see how much a guy's kind of season has impacted his ranking. And we know that Eric Pohlkamp has had an incredible season with Denver, right? I think he just was like a top 10 Hobie Baker like finalist, right? I think that was just announced today, right? But it doesn't mean that the people evaluating this think that it's going to translate to the NHL. And that's what I like to kind of suss out. I want to talk with a scout and hear him say either, man, Eric Pohlkamp, I was off on him. This guy's going to be a player in the league. He's been so good for Denver, and I see translatable stuff. Or they're honest. They're like, well, he's been good for Denver, but, you know. And so I think that's where the feedback I'm still getting about Pohlkamp. One scout says he's interesting. Definitely some upside. A bit of a power play specialist, maybe. And because of his frame, it's stocky, small, but he's stocky and strong. So maybe he'll be able to eat some even strength minutes. But ultimately, the scout still sees him, despite his ridiculous season with Denver, as more of a recallable guy, kind of a swing guy between the minors and NHL. And so scout could be wrong, of course, right? But I think that these are good markers. So the fans, you guys can maybe temper your expectations. And I hope I'm wrong. I hope Eric Pohlkamp comes in and he's Cale Makar part 2. But yeah, maybe not though.
Yeah, we're gonna be very different on Eric. Well, not too different, but enough that is gonna be interesting.
We can save him. You can save your Eric Pohlkamp talk until since you seem to have him a little higher. So okay.
I think the one prospect that is gonna burn me eventually, just because he will, is gonna be Cam Lund, and I have Cam Lund at 8. It's because Cam Lund, I recognize that there are skills that he has, and that at times in the AHL he's looked good. He's been injured, so it's kind of been tough to fully evaluate his season this year. And then in college he looked good at certain points. And he has the frame, and he's got a great shot. So there's a lot of tools there. I think, like I said, he could be the guy that is going to make me eat my words eventually, because I never really rate him very high. He just doesn't excite me enough to really move the needle for me as a top 6 guy, and I don't think he has specifically yet a game that kind of translates into a bottom 6, other than his size is pretty decent and he can play okay on the boards. But I'm not like super sold on his place in the NHL. He kind of screams as a guy like a tweener more than anything to me so far. But that's just the way I've seen him since college. But I do think that there is still a player in there, and he was drafted as a toolsy guy, kind of like Beastat in the beginning of the second, and he still is. It's just, yeah, I don't know. Maybe one day maybe next year when I watch him more, I'll move him up a lot on this list, if he could find some consistency with the Barracuda. And there were times when he played in the NHL last year that he looked decent, but again, it was like late season hockey after he signed.
Right.
So I don't know. I just don't find enough excitement for like him pounding the door into the NHL at his age just yet. And he's almost 22, I think, now. So I'm not super sold on his upside just yet. But
I have Cam quite a bit higher than you do, and actually I will talk about him with you right now because I don't have any scout comments on him, but I would say that I've heard of Cam though that he's done a good job PKing. I think there's more of a B game than you give him credit for, and with his size and his skating ability, that a growing B game, a genuinely growing B game is going to make him an NHL player. And of like kind of that power forward cohort, Musty and Halttunen and Lund, that he has shown the most growth in his B game. And so that's sort of what I've heard talking with people over the last year. Like he's the closest guy. I'm not saying he's going to be Colin Graf, but he's the closest guy I would say of this group that I can see having like, oh wow, this guy is actually quite a bit better than we expected. Because I mean, what we've seen this year, like I'll admit it, I was way off on Colin Graf. You were higher on Colin than I was, but even you, I don't think would have expected how good he's been this year too.
No.
And so
I thought he would be an NHLer for sure, but I didn't think he would be a top 6 NHLer.
And so I think that Lund has, in my mind, the most potential, including the defenseman here, of being that surprise guy. Next year, we're talking about cracking the Sharks, could. I'm not saying he will, but I know he's injured now, so it's tough to say, but or you can't see him play every night. But anyway, Cam is a bit higher on my list, so I'll get to him when I get to him. But okay, so number 7, I have Luca Cagnoni. Nice. And one scout says, yeah, Cagnoni scares me just as a tweener type. He's somebody that I'd move back on the list, but I'm not really sure who he goes behind. And for another scout, Cagnoni is the clear separator on this list, on my list, my top 10. Pohlkamp, Wang, McKinney, if they make it, maybe they're lower lineup guys, whereas Cagnoni does still have the high end, right? Maybe he can be on your PP2 or PP1 and run it and put up some points. And but yeah, like there's also, like I said, I think there's a worry that he ends up more as sort of your quadruple A defenseman. So yeah, speaking of, we talked about earlier, if you guys missed it, we talked about that leap that a player has to make after they had the AHL All-Star season. And there's another leap they have to make after that. Mukhamadullin did not. Bordeleau did not. Gushin did not. Colin Graf did from last year to this year. And Cagnoni still has to take that huge leap, which he hasn't so far this year, in my mind.
Yeah, I agree. I went back and I looked through. I guess I'll save it for when I talk about Cagnoni. But my number 7 is Leo Salin-Wallenius.
Okay.
Which I've really liked him for a long time. I think that he reminds me of a steady third pairing defenseman, and reminds me kind of like a Timothy Liljegren type of guy who.
Right.
That's not huge praise, right? But he is an NHLer.
Yeah.
He's a guy that can, I think, defend very well. He can transition the puck well. He is a decent enough puck mover in the offensive zone. All 3 zones, 200-foot player that is smart and developing. I wouldn't say like super rapidly, but rapidly enough that he's not just like I don't want to say throwaway because that sounds insulting, but he's not just like a throwaway prospect like, oh, he's doing okay in Sweden. Like he had a very good World Juniors. He was one of the best Swedish defensemen on that team. Huge minutes on a great team. He's playing in the SHL now and doing super well, like 20 plus minutes a night as a 19-year-old, whatever, how old he is. He has development and a curve that, given his smarts and his skating and his good defensive mind, I think that there's an NHL player there that I would hesitate to put him down lower than like the top 8 here all seem like either they have high upside or they have a really good floor that I think that they're actually gonna be NHLers. That like I said, 9 and below feel like maybe there's a floor there for the NHL, or maybe there's upside, but 8 and above seem like guys, and that's why Leo Solomilinius gets to number 7 for me. I like him a lot.
Perfect, because Leo Solomilinius is my number 6, and
nice.
He's one of the main guys I was curious about besides Pohlkamp, because obviously Leo did have a good World Juniors, and Craig Button just put out his like top 50 non-NHL prospects, and I think he had Wallinius like 29. He actually really liked Wallinius.
Wow.
And I think he had Chernyshov 16, and he had
defending him so hard. I should move him up. More.
And I think he had someone else 45. I thought you saw the list. I forget who he had at 45. But anyway, though, so I was curious if he's in other scouts' minds if LSW has really grown his game, and I would say that the people I talk to are more along the lines of what you're saying. I have basically an article worth of comments about
really?
Solomilinius.
Cool.
So I'll start with the short takes. So, and you notice that my defensemen are clustered here: Pohlkamp, Cagnoni, and Leo Solomilinius. And so one scout just asked, "What are they in the NHL? Like, what are these guys going to be in the NHL that gives them an everyday role?" Which I think is a very fair question.
For sure.
One scout likes Cagnoni more than Wallinius, probably because of the ceiling. I asked one scout, different scout, well, why don't you like Solomilinius? You saw he had a good World Juniors. And so this scout said, never been enamored with his hockey sense. And also, again, what is his role going to be in the NHL? Is he going to be dynamic enough offensively that he plays that role in the NHL? Don't see it. And he said there's a lot of average size, kind of offensive guys who struggle to find a regular role in the NHL. And some do, like Timothy Liljegren, Rasmus Sandin, Nils Lundqvist. But a lot of them don't. Hinoa, which I think is a Ville, right? That's a Jets prospect. Lasse Thompson, that's a Senators prospect. Brandstrom, Senators Golden Knights prospect. Victor Soderstrom. And even the ones, he said this, and this is the Liljegren part, even the ones that make it just aren't worth that much.
That's true. And
that's Liljegren, that's Sandin, that's Lundqvist, right? I mean, Lundqvist got a first-round pick, but I bet you Dallas regrets that. I know I've talked about this on the show. That's a trade that I saw from the beginning. It's what is that trade? Anyway, this scout says, I'd rather trade for a Liljegren than to try to draft and develop that.
I'm really impressed that they used Liljegren as a comp when I was just thinking, I used that too.
Yeah. And granted, Solomilinius is a second round pick. Liljegren was the first, so that's a different kind of thing too. So if you get Solomilinius and he's a bottom pairing guy that you're seeing, right? He does that for 5 years to a decade. For a second round pick, that's fine. So one more scout on Solomilinius. Does like Solomilinius more than this last guy. Very subtle and solid in Europe this year, but yeah, he does have a vanilla-ness to his game.
He really does.
And we have seen his type not do well before. This kind of skating base, modestly sized defenseman. But he did add still excellent transition defenseman, modern style of play. And so if you get him to kind of assert himself to be more of an offensive guy or more of a defensive guy, then maybe he will play in this league for a while. And for this scout of this group of Sharks defensemen, Pohlkamp, Cagnoni, and Solomilinius, smaller kind of defensemen, that he's the only one in this group that for him has like this clear translatable asset in the NHL, that is, which is his skating, which doesn't have any glaring holes. And the other stuff might be average with him, with Solomilinius, but it doesn't have the drawback too of a Cagnoni size. Because Solomilinius is a little bigger. McKinney is just offense in general. He mentioned Wang. The drawback is just learning hockey still, right? So anyway, so anyway, that's a lot on Solomilinius. So I like I said, that's why I want to do this, to get that kind of insight about someone that I don't know too much about, who has had a very good year this year, undoubtedly. So anyway, who is your number 6?
Yeah, it was interesting because I almost felt like I was justifying my number 7, but honestly, like, could add him higher. But I think we're
You
kind
have
of in a
higher
similar.
or lower, right? Like
Yeah.
if you like
Cam,
like
one more
I
if you-
imagine I don't know, but I imagine that Craig Button likes Dylan Williams a lot of World Juniors, and he watched World Juniors very, very closely. And but where I have him too is probably, and where we both have Dylan Williams is probably where a lot of people have him too, though, that they're not as high. You know, we know Craig, like, he has guys that he really pushes high on a lot of lists too. So
Yeah, so I put the upside for Leo Solomonius is like third pairing upside, but solid all around kind of guy. But you're right, it's tough to find a lot of comps, and a lot of guys do kind of not have sustained careers just because they can't distinguish themselves enough. Number 6, I had Luca Cagnoni.
Okay.
So Luca, I have as third pairing upside with power play utility because that's kind of what I see him as. I think the hope that he is a first power play guy or like a top 4 defenseman.
gotta take that leap.
I think that kind of I don't really see it. I think the way his style of play, just the way that he defends, although not poor, and he does understand the defensive side of the game, he's just not very aggressive and he's not a very physical defender. I think you're going to be hard pressed to get him into big, even strength minutes in the NHL. However, I do think specifically for the Sharks that they have this huge power play gap where on defense they don't have a really, like, they have Klingberg right now, but unless they start and go out and acquire some defense, there's going to be an opportunity for Cagnoni to shine on the power play somewhere here in the future. And his power play is really good. Like, it's very, very efficient. It is. It's very safe. It distributes well in a way that I think if a coach used him correctly could make a power play like the San Jose's work with Macklin. And I do think that it would take some creativity, and you'd have to, and it's not like he's poor defensively. He's not poor. He's calm, and he's like not very, he's just not very physical. But he's not. He's not like Ryan Merkley, where he's sacrificing everything for offense. So I think there's a way to play him in the NHL. It's just going to take some creativity, and uniquely, the Sharks could be the team that, if they wanted to try it, could do it because they don't have a lot of power play utility going forward on defense. Just blatantly, they don't, unless they acquire some.
Go ahead.
So
Go ahead. Yeah.
That's why I got him at 6. I think it's I went back and I tracked his points. The majority of his points come on the power play, which is a kind of concerning fact, but also kind of and the San Jose Barracuda have one of, if not the best power play in the AHL.
They did
and
last
he's a
year,
huge
too.
part of it. He's a huge part of it. So I think if you lean into those strengths instead of trying to make him a different player, there is a player there. But whether or not that happens is kind of the risk. But that's why I have him at 6.
Yeah.
I like him, though. I always liked him.
I was going to say, though, I think that this is one area where I would say that the team is going to be too good next year to
Possibly
risk your PP1 on Luca Cagnoni. Like, if
I didn't say PP1, I said PP.
Okay, but
just a PP.
But power play time on a guy like this. Because power play time also means a top 6, top 7. You're basically guaranteeing him NHL spot on opening night, right? At least in your top 7, at least, right? So if this was like, if Macklin hadn't taken the sleep, I think the Sharks are going to be aggressive this offseason. So this isn't the Sharks from, a couple years ago when Kyle Burrows started the season as PP1. That season, great. Luka, take PP1. Do your best. Hopefully you can run with it. You know what I mean? You're the best. You're Luke. Your only hope, or whatever. So
Luka.
like that. Yeah, Luka. Your only hope. Because that would have been the case if Cagnoni was ready for that in 2023. But I don't know. It's. I think a different Sharks in a different phase of the rebuild. I think that you could, quote unquote, hand Luka the job and see if he can run with it over the first couple months or so. But I'm not sure if you're going to be able to pull that off now. Maybe you can, and maybe he's good enough that you have the confidence in him to do that. But anyway, okay.
Yeah, it's more like on if they miss, because like right now they've got like 2 players for next year, and then they have Orlov and Dickinson, and then if they have no confidence in
Mukhamadullin back because
or they move him.
I did want to add to that. He's just talented, and so maybe he'll blossom. Maybe next year he'll be whatever. I still like the talent. Always like the talent. So, but.
I think they got to try him eventually. Is my thing. I think he has enough power play utility and has proven that he can run a power play super good in the AHL. So I think they got to try him eventually. Or,
do you think
or else,
right
what's
now
the
he
point?
can run PP2 better than John Klingberg? Just power play specifically.
I think if he had started with the Sharks from the beginning of the season and gone throughout, maybe. He's really good at it.
Okay.
He's really good at it. Like he's really good at
yeah.
So I'm not like John was like Klingberg's had moments where I would say that he's better, for sure.
Yeah, I don't think Luka's doing what John did to Sidney Crosby in overtime there in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the highlight of
the moments are high.
John Klingberg's season.
But anyway, I like Luka. I don't have him.
Okay.
Like at 6, I think is kind of the highest I can go because I recognize the inherent risk with his profile for sure.
Yep. Okay, so number 5, I've got Cam Lund, and I've already spoken on Cam, so I don't need to say too much about him. But I think he's a good sleeper guy. I think they like him. I think they do like him a lot, and so anyway. So who is your number 5?
Eric Pohlkamp.
Okay.
Yeah, I kind of went back and forth again from 8 to 4 was kind of this like very well, actually all of these guys, but
to me 6 to 8 was a bucket. Like 9, 10, 6 to 8 my defenseman, and then 5 through 3 is a little bit of a bucket for me. So
yeah. Pohlkamp, I ended up with the highest of the 3 defensemen, and it was after I watched him even more. I did a Prospects Corner on him a couple months ago, and then watched him again. I think the thing with Pohlkamp is, number one, he kind of fits perfectly with the Sharks' upcoming need. We need right-handed defensemen. We need offensive-minded defensemen. We need people who could shoot from the blue line. We needed physical, aggressive defensemen, and those are all Eric Pohlkamp to a T. He is aggressive. He's physical. He wraps up his men well on the boards. He has never found a puck he didn't want to shoot. He leads the NCAA in shots. He is a monster of a shooter. Not just like a good shooter. He's a monster of a shooter. He drives offense through his shot.
Does it translate to the NHL though? That's again,
Players like Orlov, players like Torrey Krug, they do this kind of thing where their whole game is stocky, aggressive defense plus shot. And I think that Pohlkamp with the right mindset could be that guy. And the Sharks are again uniquely positioned where they need defense and they need a guy like Pohlkamp to step in. And he has confidence too. The kid's got like swag. The kid has like actual I can take this job. There's some concerns I have with his aggressiveness defensively where he goes for the body too much and he kind of just doesn't read the play defensively all the time. But I think he has all of the things, and I think he's a little bit bigger than Cagnoni. He's got way more aggressiveness. And the power play utility is simpler than Cagnoni's. Like it's just drive offense through your shot more than anything, and that's a way easier proposition for a coach than whatever Cagnoni can do on the power play. So that's why I think that right now I'd have him ahead. Okay. But it's very tough because Cagnoni is sneaky. He's like stepped in as like a 19-year-old kid and did very well in a men's league, and he's still doing well in the AHL. Whereas Pohlkamp, little by little, has gotten better and better and better to the stage, but he's only playing in the NCAA. He's not playing against men.
Right.
In the
He's
same way.
older too, right? Isn't he 22 or something? Right.
I think
at
there's.
this point? Or am I wrong? I thought he was.
I can't remember what year. I think he might be the same draft class because I think he was his 24 pick, and then Kenny was 23.
But he will be 22 in a week. So
okay,
but okay.
So they're both 21, but Pohlkamp's a little older.
Yeah.
And he's just had a little bit of a slower development curve. So I think it's a little bit of a bet by me on what the Sharks are missing from their blue line and what a coach will appreciate about Pohlkamp and make him more likely to play than Cagnoni. And Wallenius is just a couple more years away from coming over and showing that kind of thing. So I think the ultimate upside is higher on Cagnoni from a perspective of, like, if he hits, if it all works out. I think the brain is there offensively more so than Pohlkamp's, but God, Pohlkamp is fun to watch. And the Sharks are uniquely positioned to use him if they want to. So
right, like I said, it's a land of opportunity, right? So
land of opportunity. Come on in and steal it.
Yeah.
Hopefully Denver gets knocked out so we can see that shot from the blue line. It's a rocket, man. Like he's good. So it'll be interesting to see. He's going to need some time though. I don't really foresee him stepping in and just being on the Sharks, even though like it's possible. I think he needs development time, especially defensively.
He'll get some games probably.
Of course.
So so
we'll see how he
depends
does.
on where the Sharks are in the playoff hunt. If they're in the playoff hunt, then they won't use them probably. But if they have fallen out, maybe they will use them. But I think like I mentioned, Pohlkamp, Cagnoni, Solon, Wallenius, I think they're all very similar. They're very interchangeable for me. So that I have Pohlkamp 8 is not really. He could have been 6 for my list too. So number 4, I have Philip Beested, and I think Beested's the other guy who was in the top 50 of Craig Button's list. I think that's the 4th guy that I was forgetting, and I think Phillips had a very solid season. I think that. Have watched a lot of him, have talked with scouts about him, and just generally that it's been a project with him. It's been a slow burn, a little bit like Cam Lund, I guess, because they're drafted in the same year. But you see Phillip year by year getting better in the AHL, and he's got to take that next leap, of course, to the NHL. And can he do that or not? He's not done yet, right? That's always again. Philip, I think, was selected as AHL All-Star this year, so he's got to take that next step. Can he do it? But he has all the sort of the tools to do it, right? Like he's big, he can skate, he's rangy, he actually is a good playmaker, he's got vision. Doesn't mean he's going to end up as a second-line center or anything like that, but can he be a 3C? I think all these pieces are there. Just he's got to put it together.
Yeah. Yep. I have Phil Beast at 4 as well. Third line upside, I think you want him to be a guy like Wenberg who can slow the game down and a possession center.
Yeah, that'd be amazing if he ends up that,
Yeah, and it took Wenberg a while too. Wenberg got bought out at the age of 25, which
right. He had to kind of figure out what his game was at this level, right? Yeah, like he was always a good playmaker, Wenberg, right? He was always like pretty decent offensively, but he had to add things to his game, I think. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so that's the thing about Beasted is still trying to figure out what he's going to be exactly. Tools are there. Progression is good. Right now, it's like a question of next steps and getting him introduced into the NHL, because I kind of feel like he could be a guy that could get some minutes but could fade pretty easily, and you wouldn't really notice he's doing all that much on the 4th line. He's not going to wow you with like tons of energy and hits and that kind of thing. He does play big minutes for the Barracuda in most situations, so you've gotten all you can out of not all you can, but you've gotten a good progression from him. There's just one more leap that has to happen. So or he is a classic trade guy too. Not that like we want to trade him, but he's one of those guys that's former 1st-round pick, has some upside, hasn't really fully realized it yet. Maybe the Sharks' offense is already kind of loaded in a way. He could be fit in with a 1st-round pick and some other thing for another player on defense, something like that. Very possible.
I could see that. I would add with him, though, to what you're saying, though, that I think, though, that he's a little better than, like, your Martin Kaut types, right? Where it's like, he was a 1st-round pick, but really the end of the rope, Like, this is just, like... or Oscar Olsen, another one, right, that the Sharks just acquired and let go of. Like, I think Phillips got a lot of rope. And I think the team that acquires him is going to be a team that likes him and identifies, like, hey, I think this guy can be our 3C for the next, like, half decade or decade. Like, team like Vancouver, which I think he actually was tied to in rumors that Vancouver was interested in him because he's the kind of guy that's like, hey, if we give him the job for the next few years here, I think that he's going to roll with it. He's going to grow into that role. And so I can see that with Philip. Number three, sure. I think we might be similar or start to get similar here, or maybe not. I have Quentin Musty. And one scout told me, though, that he actually had Bjugstad ahead of Musty with the season that Bjugstad is having, and also that Bjugstad is a center. So I think that's interesting. I think Musty has been up and down with the Barracuda. You see the flashes, but I think with Musty, though, still don't see enough of the kind of the complete game, right? Like, he's good at what he's good at, but is what he's good at on the rush, things like that, is that really going to translate to NHL success? And I talked with Quentin about it about a month ago with the Barracuda. I think he knows the team has told him, right? You got to be better in battles. Got to be better on the boards. You got to be more patient. And I know he's trying to apply that to his game. And whether or not he does or not, it's still a question mark. But obviously, there's still the ceiling there that if he adds more B, more C to his game, and then every once in a while, obviously, things will open up and he can rush and he can do all the stuff he's really good at and pop in some goals that way at the NHL. And that adds to on the aggregate A, B, C games, adding to, that becomes a 20, 25 goal winger or whatever, even a 30 goal guy. That's all still possible with him. But he still hasn't taken quite that jump, though, that we've seen with Chernyshov, just for example, who we're going to get to. But anyway, who's your number three?
My number three is Quentin Musty.
Okay.
We've started a match. I feel like we were off we were pretty close, but kind of different groupings maybe. But yeah, Quentin Musty, same thing. I was really encouraged by his training camp. I felt like he had moments there where he really gelled with the high skill forwards that San Jose has. It's just this is his first pro season. He's still pretty young overall.
Yeah, he is.
I think with the right coaching, I still think there's a middle six player here that, you're right, 20, 25 guy that kind of makes sense. He's got the size, got the skating, got the vision. He's got a good shot. He plays well off the rush. He can have a little snarl to his game sometimes. It's not always there. Yep. He can play with an edge occasionally, but not consistent yet. So I still think, based on the upside alone, number three is where I would seed him. But I was between him and Bjugstad. Other than I don't really see like the high end I don't see Bjugstad being on the second line. This is a ceiling
bet with Musty still, I think.
More than anything.
But I think it's interesting, though, and it's a tribute to Philip that there's a scout, because we've consistently had Bjugstad behind Musty on these lists. I think scouts have consistently had Bjugstad behind Musty on these lists. But Bjugstad's game is, and granted, Bjugstad's got a year on Musty, but Bjugstad's game is maturing in a way that just people are seeing it more with him.
I think the only year I had
another step. Yeah,
I think the only year I had Bjugstad ahead was after his really good SHL season that he had after he was drafted.
Right. Yeah, I think he's but consistently the last couple of years, though, right? Like kind of even well behind. I think some people were starting to think like, Bjugstad's not going to pan out. It's taking too long here. I think there was that thought too. But anyway, okay.
I'm really impressed that we got to this top four as being the same. I really didn't think we were going to.
Yeah, it looks like it. I think what's different here, though, okay, so number two, I guess your number two is going to be Josh Ravensbergen, but...
Yep.
Yeah, but I would say, though, that with Bjugstad, Musty, and Ravensbergen, Chernyshov, who's going to be our number one, that, so... One scout loves Ravensbergen and thinks he's got elite upside, and that he actually had Ravensbergen over Chernyshov, which is, I think, saying a lot. So he says that Ravensbergen just has everything that you want in an NHL starter. Size, quick legs, competitive, elite technique. His glove has gotten a lot better. And so he really likes Ravensbergen, basically. Other guys do not like Ravensbergen as much. I think some people might have Ravensbergen behind Musty. But actually, one guy I did talk to would have had Ravensbergen behind Musty. But I think if somebody likes Ravensburg, if someone likes him that much, that's a good sign, though, for a goalie prospect, because I think goaltending can be very, very split, which we'll talk about in our honorable mentions coming up. But anyway, so Ravensburg is my number 2.
Me too. Ravensburg is my number 2. I watched him today and did a little bit more draft scouting work for Carson Carrolls as well, who plays on his team. Again, not a goalie scout. There's specific people who watch goalies. But you get it. I see him, the size, the quickness, the alertness, good feet, the way that he moves in the crease, always looking to cover his angles. I really like the way that his presence is in net. I think a couple of times he feels a little small, like he'll kind of like shrink in when he needs to kind of pick his glove up a little bit, but that's very junior-esque more than anything. But either way, the majority of his game is very, very solid, very calming in net, and his team plays behind him or plays ahead of him super well, and that's always good from a goalie. Like, they just have such confidence in him to make the save he's doing excellent this year. And just from a pure like upside ranking perspective, I was like, all right, Quentin Musty, if we get it all to hit, he's going to probably be a middle 6 guy if he hits. Phil Beestead, if he gets it to hit, he's going to be maybe second line. Phil Beestead, maybe third line if he hits. Eric Pohlkamp, maybe some power play utility. Cognoni, same thing. But Ravensburgen's like, if he hits, he's an NHL starter, and that's like, that's that's worthy of your number 2 slot.
This scout likes him like at a level of, well, not just an NHL starter, but he can be a top 10 elite NHL starter. So so.
I don't know if I have the scouting knowledge to really project that, but I do like him a lot, and I like him better than I liked a guy like Sebastian Cossa. I've never been really high on Cossa, and even in his draft year, his draft +1, watching Kossa's draft +1 and Ravensburgen draft +1, I like Ravensburgen more. So that's just, and Cossa was drafted like 10, 15 picks ahead, something like that. So still have Wallstedt as like one of my best first round picks because he's been excellent as a goalie in the NHL. But Ravensburgen's right up there. I think people kind of sleep on him a little bit just because we have Askarov.
It was a weak draft too that he came out of too. But I think the point with that is that like he was the best goaltending prospect in that draft, and he does have like a high upside. And so if he wasn't a goalie, because teams are reticent to draft goalies high, that he would have been a higher pick too. And so
he was second picked as a goalie, but because Piotr and Andrianov went first. But
I think people thought that Ravensburgen was a consensus number 1, but he actually did go number 2. You're right, he did go number 2. But that like the Sharks in a weak draft, they made a high end pick there. It just is kind of in a position that they might have a little excess, but I think it was a smart pick by them in that place. And the season that Ravensburgen has had, and if he kind of he's got to take more leaps, but we could actually have a Ravensburgen Askarov conversation in a couple of years here, right? Which would be an interesting conversation to have. Like, that actually might be a real thing.
I'm pretty sure he has to go back to the WHL next year because I don't think he'll be 20 by the time that.
A couple of years from now. I'm not saying next year. So yeah,
I know, but I'm just saying we can't even see him in the Barracuda really next year. Sadly, so. We got to wait another year before he can even make it to the AHL. And goalies are always hard to project, but I loved that pick just because they hold their value. And I remember saying that at the draft. They if you pick a really high value pick like this, you kind of hold that asset and you just you kick it down the road. As long as he keeps developing like he is, he still is going to hold value around the league as a potential future starter.
Great example of that, right? Askarov didn't become a starter for years and years, and his draft year was Mukhamadullin's draft year, right? It was 2020, and 4 years later, Predators were able to get the equivalent of 2 first-round picks out of the Sharks because he held his value, right? So that's
exactly. Whereas if you draft like a third line, a potential third line winger that has a lot of.
If you drop Mukhamadullin, he's got to put up or shut up, or he loses his value, basically, right? That's the truth of it. He becomes waiver exempt, and he may still have all this talent in the world, but he's got to put it together. If he doesn't, then he becomes waivers fodder, or he gets traded for Martin Kaut, or whatever, right? So
So that's the great pick. And I doing this list, I didn't think that Ravensburger was going to be number 2, but at the end of the day, I was like, I see it. So this is where he landed.
Well, number one is obvious. We don't really have to say too much about him because we've seen a lot of him in the NHL, and he's really here just technicality. If the Sharks hadn't sent him down, he'd actually probably be he would be in a Michael Misa kind of bucket, and we just would be like, nah, he's not a prospect anymore. But so just by technicality, we have Igor Chernyshov. But yeah, Igor obviously has impressed everybody this season. I get texts from scouts. They're like, wait, why isn't he with the Sharks? I thought he was still with the Sharks. They sent him down. And he has been that good. I would add that I looked at some of the micro stats, right? Like he still has to. There's things for him to iron out. Not saying that he belongs in AHL because he doesn't. I think he does belong in the NHL, but like his puck battles, he can still be better in that area. He's 20. His body's still developing, right? And I actually like that in the AHL, he's playing 20 minutes a night, unlike say 15 or whatever he'd be with the Sharks, right? And he's doing PK. He was top unit PK. And as far as I understand, just talking to people down there, he's taking well to it too. And so this is the guy that, like, when it all comes together, we're talking like first, second line winger here, but with the all-around game, not just a scorer, can be on the PK. I don't know. Sky's kind of limit. I gotta check in because I know I did a story when Chernyshov was first called up, and some guys hadn't seen enough of him yet. Some of the scouts hadn't seen enough of him yet, to be honest, I think. But I think now that I've seen him more, I wonder with comps. One guy that jumps out to me that I think about would be great if you have this guy in his 20s is Pavel Bushnevich. Great two-way winger, averaging close to a point per game. A guy that you're going to win with a guy like that. And so that's one guy that jumps out. I wonder if that's kind of what we're talking about. So he's not quite the offensive kind of driver that like a Nichushkin is, which is another obvious comp. I'm just talking about Russians.
Yeah, everybody just uses the Russian big guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I got to check in on that, what some of these guys think his ceiling is. But I think it's pretty high, though. Yeah, the Sharks definitely have found somebody here.
Yeah, for sure. My number 1 as well, Igor Chernyshov.
Yeah.
It's a testament that we did graduate since 2023, like obvious Macklin Celebrini is going to be a superstar. Will Smith's going to be a top 6 player. Is a superstar. Misa's going to be a top 6 player. Dickens is probably going to be a top 4 player. Askarov's going to be at least a 1A, 1B guy, hopefully more. Who else? William Eklund's going to probably be a top 6 player.
Add something else about Chernyshov, though, is that he took his spot here. Like, you can still argue with Misa on a weaker team. Misa might have been sent back. On a stronger NHL team, he would have just been sent back because, like, should Michael Misa be your third line center if you're trying to make the playoffs? If you're like serious about winning a Stanley Cup? No, honestly, probably not. Like, he's not there yet. He's 18, right? I'm not docking Michael for that. That's just the truth of the matter. Should Sam Dickinson be in your top 6 if you're trying to win a Stanley Cup? No, he wouldn't be. I don't think he would be, to be honest, right? So that's a little bit of like, okay, the Sharks have some space here. Give them a little more grace with mistakes, the whole handed them thing, right? And just, let them run a little bit. And they've both done a good job with it. But in better programs, deeper teams, I don't know if they're necessarily here. Chernyshov for sure, though, he's not a top 4 pick. There's no question of OHL or NHL that Misa Dickinson had. Chernyshov is here because he's just that good. So in a sense of like a Colin Graff and Osopchik that I mentioned, that he just is too good to ignore, and that I don't know if they're going to keep him up or not, because obviously he just had that one shift and he got hurt. But like, I do think that in the best interest of the Sharks trying to make the playoffs, the best possible team that they can field, that Chernyshov may not be an every night player. He's still young. He still has things to work on. He can sit every once in a while. But that if the Sharks make the playoffs, my guess is that Chernyshov plays in most of these games upcoming, and he has an impact on them. Because I think he is at 20 that good a player and well-rounded enough that you can kind of have him out there.
Yep. He, like you said, he gives you the opportunity to win games, and he looks like a play driver. And he certainly has the frame and the offensive tools and everything to fit. And it's just about getting him in there and getting minutes and, more consistency and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And obviously, you don't want him to get 28 seconds and then injured, which kind of sucks. But
right.
it is what it is.
So I don't know the plans for him. So I don't know if they were just gonna have him up. Like the plan was maybe just a couple games and send him down. I don't know, because they do have still a lot of forwards. I know Ryan Reeves isn't everyone's most popular favorite player, but Ryan Reeves I think has been good for the Sharks this year, and he has a role for the Sharks, and he deserves some NHL time. Kirsch has been sat a lot. He deserves NHL time. Gaudet's been sat quite a bit. He deserves NHL time. So there is a glut of forwards. But even like you said, that they even tried him. And, the day in Montreal, before all these injuries hit, they had 15 healthy forwards with Chernyshov. And I think it's because they saw, okay, maybe we can take this Celebrini Smith line to another level. We put Chernyshov up there with him. And we push Graf down, and he helps the second and third lines out. And we are actually making our team better this way for the playoff hunt. So anyway, we'll see. But
yeah, I'm really excited about graduating him off this list. Only that this list is going to become very not deep soon.
Well, they're going to have 2 first-round picks this year, I think, right? Unless they trade him for a defenseman, but
probably one. I think we see. I don't know. We'll see. I think we end up seeing a trade with that.
Maybe one gets moved. I think that no Dobson trade that Montreal made. Maybe that's a trade that the Sharks might make this summer. That type, right? Because they might feel like they feel good enough about their system to do that. So anyway, let's get to honorable mentions. And I'm going to go for myself in alphabetical order, and I'm going to stop. I have a couple of notes on a couple of these guys, but Ethan Cardwell is still here. I think Ethan, though, his contract's going to be out. I think it's a good player, just sort of size, right? And, the Sharks did get a little deeper this year in the bottom 6 where kind of pushed him out a little bit too. Obviously, he's hurt now too, which doesn't help, but I could still see him like an Ozzy Weisblot, right? Carving out a role if the Sharks don't have space for him here. That another team with a little more space gives him a shot, and he does perfectly fine in a bottom 6 role somewhere else. So,
I think it's
Max
more.
Heiss,
I have him on our mentions too.
Yeah,
same thing with with Ethan. Consistency has always been kind of a thing too. Ethan. Consistency. There's times when you see him, he's very energetic and he's got a huge smile on his face and he feels like he's on top of the world and is going to be a bottom 6 energy guy, and then you don't notice him for 5 games and he doesn't really do much. So it's just consistency of what kind of game he's going to play, and I think he's injured right now, so it's tough. I see him as a potential 13th forward kind of guy.
Yeah, but I think he can gain that consistency, though, because a lot of guys do, right? Guys like Hardwell, even Mukhamadullin, right? Even if he doesn't hit with the Sharks, Mukhamadullin is kind of I know we keep going back to Mukhamadullin, but he is kind of the kind of guy that kind of stumbles around, but at 27 something clicks, and then he becomes an NHL regular somewhere. Maybe not with the Sharks, but somewhere else. Because there's just so much talent there, right? Cardwell is not as talented as Mukhamadullin. Doesn't have that size, but Cardwell, he skates fast. He's got a good shot. He's got a really great mentality too, right? And so I can see it clicking with Cardwell. I'm just not sure it's going to be with the Sharks anymore. I don't know if they're going to have the space for him, to be honest. But still a good player, though. Still a good prospect. Still a guy that I think other teams around the league would be happy to take on and give a chance. So Max Heiss was not on my initial list, but the scout said you got to put Max Heiss on your list. Don't have much else to say about him except that he's had a good year, and so hope he was picked this past year, right? So he may kind of jump up this list sooner than later. Stop me if you have anything to say about any of these guys. So Kristen Kirsch.
Yep.
I actually have a lot on Kirsch. So one scout really likes him, and he actually said that Kirsch has had a really good year in the OHL. Which is his team? I don't know who his team is.
Kitchener, I think.
Kitchener. Yeah, I think it's Kitchener.
I think it's Kitchener. Yeah.
And he had a rough year last year. He kind of bounced around last year. But This scout might have had Kirsch at number 9 ahead of McKinney and Wang. That's how much he likes Kirsch. And definitely there's an upside he sees in Kirsch. And just he said he likes kind of the size and composure combination of Kirsch. Reads the ice really well and can come up with the athletic saves when he needs to. And so,
yeah,
maybe the Sharks' new goalie factory. So
maybe
just like the old days
see
of Nabokov and Kiprasov and all that.
Yeah,
so.
I did see a lot last year, but this year he definitely it looked better, and then World Juniors and all that. So there's definitely something developing there, for sure.
Yeah. Finally, Joey Muldowney, Brandon Swoboda, Carson Wetsch, they're on my list too. Nothing really to say about those guys. But yeah, that's the end of my honorable mentions. I don't know if there's anybody here that or that you want to talk about, or anybody that I missed on.
Yeah, I had Haoxi Wang just outside of the top 10.
Right.
Cole McKinney,
right. He was for you.
Just outside of the top 10. But kind of same. Like, honestly, if it was 11 and 12, it would be them too. So, and then after that, I had Nolan Allen as like a third pairing potential or seventh.
But we didn't count Allen because of his games. I think he has 46 with the
I forgot that he had already played
but...
so much last year that I shouldn't have counted him. But
that's okay. Yeah,
I had also Swoboda as like I could see him as a fourth line player. He fits that mold. He hasn't changed my mind on that. Every time he plays on a good team, he plays on their fourth line and he plays well. And he moves up a little bit. He plays like third line sometimes with BU.
I think Allen
second
might have
line.
contended for 10 or 9 for me, actually. And I think because he's just a guy that plays just because of his size, skating combination, and he's just a guy that there's going to be kind of a spot for him on
eventually.
Not an every night basis, but like he's recallable.
Yep, recallable is a good word. I had Teddy Butrin as well. I think Teddy Butrin had a good year.
Yeah, he's had a good season. Yeah.
And I did a prospects corner on him, so I put as like a fourth line potential guy because I think there's definitely some elements there too that can be at a bottom 6 fourth line role too. So and that's pretty much. And then I had Colton Roberts because I watched Colton Roberts in the NCAA the other day, and I really liked him. Like he's still a steady guy. Got the length. He's a right shot. He's not going to wow you offensively, but. I think that it's going to take many more years, but he's still pretty young. I think he's only 19 or something like that. There's enough there that worth keeping an eye on as a potential 6th, 7th D for sure.
Sure.
And that's kind of it. Cardwell, 13th forward, call-up guy, and that's where I landed with everybody. Yeah, successful. I'm kind of concerned that the Sharks need to reload their prospect pool, but not too concerned. It's fine. They're going to be fine. They're doing well.
I predict, they've done well, right? I think that's one of the things that has stood out. Credit to Chris Morehouse, Scott Fitzgerald and company, that they haven't just hit on, anyone could have hit on Macklin, but hey, even Will Smith, there was some debate over that pick, and then Sam Dickinson, and obviously Chernyshov. So I think that they've done well so far for sure. I predict that they will make one of their first round picks this summer, but they'll trade one of them for a defenseman. Yeah. So that'd be my.
I bet it's first in Mukhamadullin for Philip Hronek. That's my answer. That's my answer.
I think the Sharks would make that trade any day of the week, honestly. So I don't know if Vancouver would. I think Hronek is actually probably too valuable. That's
maybe. I mean, he got a first.
He has a good contract. He's got a good contract.
I think he got a first and a second to get him, maybe, from Detroit.
Yeah, it depends on how much you like Mukhamadullin, right? So, I mean, that's a part of it. So, I don't know if Mukhamadullin right now, if we're being honest, I know we're going back to Mook Hour.
Mook Talk 2026.
Yeah. I don't know, honestly, if an open market Mukhamadullin is I don't think he gets a second round pick. I don't think people he's 24. I think he might get a 5th. To be honest, just because, there's still tools there, but you're not getting I don't know if anyone thinks give this guy a job, he's going to be in our top 4, or even our top 6 on a better team.
Maybe.
And
maybe they see him as
those are the guys that get second or third or fourth round picks, I think. So.
Yeah, maybe they see him as the Broberg type, though, that just needs a change of scenario.
Yeah, but Broberg was a lottery pick too, right? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, he was like
So
seventh, I think.
Yeah. I think.
Yeah, same
That's
age though
pushing it
when
a
he
little
broke
bit.
out.
Same age, yeah, that's fair. And Roenick, just since we're talking about it, was traded 2023 with a 4th-round pick to the Canucks for a 1st and a 2nd.
Yeah, so it would take more than first and Mukhamadullin. It would be like first,
I think so.
Mukhamadullin and a prospect probably. So
Maybe, yeah. But
if they wanted to strip him off.
I mean, Roenick is 28, and he is pretty kind of about what the Sharks are looking for. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I just have no idea what Vancouver's ever doing. I don't even know if they know what they're doing. So.
I don't know if they know. I was reading that they want to keep Roenick, and it's like, well, that's great, but who are you going to play him with, right? So, yeah, but...
Yeah, I don't know if they know. So if they are shipping him, I think the Sharks should probably be the guy. Like, they'll be like, hey, we really need a offensive-minded D. Please ship him here.
Just a combo guy like that, right? No, that'd be perfect. That's exactly... It's like kind of like a young Dmitry Orlov. I'm not saying their games are really comp, but like just a young combo guy. Nasty, a little bit of nasty in his game. So yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how we got on this topic, but it's top 10.
It's Mook hour.
Prospect.
It's Mook hour.
It's Mook. So whenever we do a top 10, we end up talking for like 3 hours, and that's what it is. All right. Well, hopefully, Warzo, you send me a Christmas card. I'll send you one if you send me one. I apologize for being, I don't know, short with you. He's never going to listen to this anyway. He's never going to listen to this anyway.
I don't know. He's got a burner, so I think.
That's
I
true.
don't know that for a fact, but, suspicion is he's got somebody's monitoring some social media for him. He seems to know what Sharks Twitter is saying about him. So, but anyway. All right, hopefully we get congratulations again to Zubair. I hope you had a great golf game today.
Yep. Congratulations, Dan.
for living life and being able to
Congrats,
golf whenever
man.
he wants. So, hey, you know what? He deserves congratulations for that. He's earned it after a great career.
He has.
And we'll see you next week, and hopefully we have the whole team back together soon.
Yeah. Sounds good. See you guys. Have a good week.